All right, we'll call the meeting to order. 9:02. General meeting. This is held via in person and Zoom. Um, what we would ask is that if you, as usual, I allow comments from the floor. I would like to have you raise your hand if you have a sign-up sheet. But we would recognize we're trying to get the work done and comments to make, we'd like to make them concise and to the point, and we can go from there. So,
Hey, Bill, can you hold on real quick? There's an echo. I'm gonna try to-
Audio is terrible.
If I say that.
No, you're right.
Okay, can everybody hear us better now?
Can everybody hear us?
No, hold on. Let's try that.
Let's try.
How about now?
I didn't hear an echo.
No, it's still bad.
Your speakers are open.
There's somebody.
Yeah. No, it's on. It's connected. Is it there?
Yeah.
Can we have that call in? Will it call in separately?
That I don't know.
Okay, so for the people that can't hear us or can hear us,
People that can't hear it or can't hear it.
that is terrible echo. We are going to disconnect real quick and we'll be right back.
Quick and we'll be right back.
Okay, how about now?
Okay, how about now?
No better.
How about now?
There's static in the line for some reason. I think it's a connection.
Tom, can you try and talk again?
Can you try and talk again?
Sounds
Yeah.
like a mouse.
It's still,
Still.
yeah, it's still not good. I'm gonna log back in.
The internet.
I just connected to their speaker and still.
It's still doing it. The only thing we could. We're getting high speaker.
Okay,
That's what I
well,
understand. When I click mute here, it'll mute everyone.
Click here.
Oh, hold on. He unplugged us, so we're. Yep, I'm trying. All right, let's see. What we got.
Can you
Right.
hear me? Michelle, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you and the echo is gone.
Thank you. Hallelujah. Thank you, Mela.
Okay.
All right, Bill.
I feel better, just, now. All right, we're gonna delay, we're gonna call the meeting to order at 9:10. And no technical difficulties, roll call.
Rob. Here. Morgan. Here. Karen. Tom.
I'm here.
Bill.
You right?
Ryan. Here.
Oh, missing here. All right. We have our quorum, we're looking at the consent agenda. I put the consent agenda together so that the amended meeting minutes from the November meeting, which were the ones that were under scrutiny last on the December general meeting, that were modified and the changes were made. You have a copy of the consent agenda for those.
That's this one. My bad.
Uh, We would have then the minutes that were from the last meeting, December meeting. We have no report from architectural thinking, we've got a reporting today, communications is reporting today. Firewise is reporting today, garbage and recycling has no report. Governing docs has no report, office with no report, and roads will be reporting at the meeting. Security is no report, and volunteer fundraising will be reporting at the meeting. Big and school that. So, any questions, changes, anything, any consent agenda? Not, I can entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
any discussion?
Rob.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Ryan. Yes. Yes.
All right. Financial report. Rob, that's you.
Before I go over the asset snapshot, I'll start with, Michelle and I had a clarifying call with Julie at Fieldstone to discuss some some of the budget that we approved. And essentially it was really naming of some of the accounts to update. For example, we had account 40600 advertising newsletter income. We changed that to advertising digital. Because we're not really doing a paper newsletter anymore, so it best aligns with what we're actually doing. And then determine that the 42300 gate access income decals should only include the 3R branded stickers that people put in their window. They have nothing to do with actual access to the gate. Changed 42400 gate access income key cards to gate access income. Because it includes RFID key cards, kind of all those actual gate access entry things. And then expense accounts, we had to mirror that change. So we changed 74635 from gate access key cards to gate access. And then when we went through the budget exercise, we increased the payroll tax expense in the 76360 account to 11,000. Then we altered the wages down and did not alter the payroll tax expense from 11,000 down to where it should be. So we adjusted that to 6,000 based on the reduction of wages. So that changed the net operating income from $2,000 to $7,000 based on that payroll tax adjustment. Other news, the per mile reimbursement is now 70 cents per mile. So Stacy is updating the form to reflect that change. And then all financials are now posted to the website. Thank you again for all your hard work, Michelle. There's translation is a word to use between Stripe and Fieldstone, what Fieldstone was requiring to get financials done and posted. So we're now caught up, and it's a good place to be. So, so all financials are now posted on the website. On the snapshot, there's actually an update. So on the Pacific Premier checking, that's actually 53,846.08 as of yesterday, because we had to transfer 50,000 from the Umpqua general checking. So Umpqua account is now at $50,911.07. The reason for that, we pay bills out of Pacific Premier, and it was down to around $3,000. So Firewise, money market is around 840. The legal money market around 38,000. Garbage 79,000 plus. The marina at 70,000. The marina CD, which renewed, is at 917,000. Volunteer fund checking account 45,000, and then the money market 41,000. Roads account, money market account is at 107,000. I think that covers everything. Any questions? Financial. Yep.
Would be the reimbursement form to be put on the website, which I couldn't find it.
Okay.
They were working on that.
Yeah.
There was no, the office didn't have a digital copy, so Mary was working on actually making it part of the 3R site. So we
Yeah.
got a little, we're gonna just need to connect about a little hiccup with it, but then
Okay.
it'll just be something we can do to the site.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Maybe one other little thing before the furnace comes. Not here to.
Well, take your coat off, Jeff. Come on.
Well, no, it's not too warm. It's just so easy when it comes on.
Everybody all right?
Yeah.
Keep it as it is, yeah.
They're warm, I'll turn it down just so that we don't have to listen to it, because it makes it difficult.
That and Dave has his shorts on, so it's perfect in here. All right, anything else for financial?
Thank you.
Rob, that's it?
Yep.
Committee reports. We have those. I have. Okay, there are two additions to it. One, Jim has a report. Lake Village Chinook Fire and Rescue, and then communications is going to be added onto that. And that's as far as the changes that I have, correct? Is there anybody else that wants to make a committee report? Okay, so Jim?
I can make mine really brief today. My name is Bob Zabotsky. Bob's one of the other board members at Lake Chinook. Bob and I worked together at Portland Fire. He retired as a deputy chief, but about 34 years in Portland Fire. So he's one of those guys that brings a pretty significant amount of fire department experience to the position. So Bob, thanks for coming along with me today. We had three really good folks applied for the board position that was vacant from Three Rivers. We selected Steve Hoppeditz as the new board member, and swore him in 2 meetings ago, I believe. Anyway, excited to have Steve again. Everybody that applied had, I mean, it would have been good to bring all of them on board, but Steve's got a lot of good fire department experience, and we're hoping that we can exploit his contacts with Clackamas Fire District 1. We've had pretty good luck obtaining fire apparatus from the city of Portland, from the Utah County Fire District 1, where I also was at for a little while. So we're hoping that we can exploit that relationship. You probably all received the letter, I hope you did, from the board of directors regarding our meeting on the 25th. We're hoping to have a very good informative meeting with the community to talk about the kind of the current state of the fire district. A lot of that has to do with the success we've had with grant funding, but also the reliance that we have now on grant funding as it relates to the total budget. We'd like to make sure we have a good conversation about the service levels we're providing and what we want to try to do in the future. And how we fund the organization in the future. We'd also like to position the organization to evaluate new candidates for the fire chief in the near future. And I think based on funding, we're concerned that we're not looking for a full-time position. We're looking for somebody that can assume that on kind of a half-time position or part-time, which makes the candidate search even more challenging. So anyway, those will all be some of the topics that we talk about on the 25th. And I guess the last thing, and I don't have a lot of answers, but we're still doing homework and research, and Bob could speak to it a little bit more, but I'm sure everybody recently received the letter from ODF. And I felt like I was reading something that was criminal charges. Personally, and that was like, quite frankly, it pissed me off. The sad part about it is, I don't know that we know a lot. It wasn't like we were given a lot of options. And with that, Bob can speak directly. He's done a little bit more research and has a couple more articles. So
I think one of the big things is that everybody is a little bit taken aback that we're in the high hazard zone because so many people have done so much work fire-wise, and a lot of the things that we've been doing, it feels like to people that it's been overlooked. I will tell you that there are two things to remember about this map. A, there's risk and there's hazard. Okay, this map does not deal with risk. What you get from your insurance deals with your risk. So if you've done a lot of work in the fire-wise and we've got things cleared around us, the insurance company will take that into account when they look at your risk. The wildfire is an overall map, and it would be hard to argue that this area isn't high hazard. It just is as an area. Okay, but it doesn't get down to the individual lot size. And that's what I think a lot of people are concerned with. They're worried, do I put into the state? Do I try to fight this? And I'll say that fighting it on the grounds that you've done a lot of work around your house, it's not going to come down to an individual lot basis. This, by law, cannot be used by an insurance company. This map, by statute, cannot be used by the insurance companies. Okay, that's what the information is out there now. Does anybody have any questions that I probably can't answer?
I was the
I will-
state, I think that, they sent quite a few of those letters to Fieldstone instead of the individual landowners, we found out, so, we.
It was scary too. I thought it was.
So some of you got them, some of you actually received it, okay, yeah.
Eight certified.
It's certified.
It was.
Yeah, it was a little overwhelming, I think, for a lot of folks, and, you know, there's really nothing in the map that you can change. It's not like you can go in and say, well, my area, you know, we've got sprinklers and we've got all of this, it doesn't allow for that, so just realize that that is by law, can't be used by insurance companies, and it deals with the hazard and not risk.
Is that a federal law, the protection, or is
I
that a
believe
Oregon?
it's a state law.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, in fact, you know, there's a article that I was on today that talked to the law.
I was asking because my buddy in Camas, Washington, got the letter last July in Washington, and then his insurance dropped him. But that was from the Washington Forestry, so.
Yeah, this says it's Senate Bill 82. That it deals with.
Okay, I will say, preemptively to that, I had contacted Joe Parrott, who is a resident here, who is very helpful on all things fire. He had prepared a statement, which I just got yesterday. I'm assuming that we need to get something out. We need to have it on, communications has to figure out a way to put it out, but we also have the difficulty with not everybody received this notice, where everybody was supposed to receive this notice and didn't. So there's gonna be this confusion, and if there's one thing I've learned in the last 10 years, confusion in this community is not a good thing. We've got to make it clear, we've got to know what we're doing, and we've got to have a response to it. So his letter, I don't know, reading it or not, it reflects everything you had just said, Bob. I mean, he talks about exactly the same things, and its inability to be used by the insurance company as an insurance. So I think our best bet right now is to get the letter out with an explanation that says, if you didn't receive the letter, you should have received the letter, and this is what it is. So that's going to be fun.
Well, it would have been nice had they have done that
Yeah,
with the letter. I mean, most people, by the time they're done reading it, you don't walk away with anything positive.
yeah. I got plenty of emails.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God.
And that was the only reason I started reading about it a little bit, to try to figure out what is it they're actually trying to tell us. And I think what you're going to see further down the line is this is all going to play into, you know, restrictions when you build. You know, it's going to be very tough for them to come back and, you know, put this on to a homeowner who's already built. You know, they're going to ask you to have defensible space and such. But the code, I think, is where this is really headed in the future. The code will change the way you screen your vents, the type of materials you can use on your roofs. That sort of thing, I think, in the future, where this is headed.
Okay. All right, great. Well, I appreciate the update. Thank you for joining in, Jim. Thanks for getting the people on board and getting Steve on the board. All that was a big plus. So, and Bob, how do you spell your last name?
Just put a Z, just put a.
Okay, now, then, yeah, the two of you, it ends up being Jim F and Bob Z. I guess that's about all you got. Okay, well, we'll deal with that. I do have one question for you, Jim. I think when Pat last week, did we receive that bill on the Knox box?
Yes, we have it. We've received it a while ago,
A
actually.
while ago,
Mhm.
okay. Why are we being billed for a Knox box?
I'm not sure. I'm looking into that and get back to you.
It was actually a late fee applied too, but we had already.
Yeah, Steve's not in here. Cause I know we ordered one from a gate company.
Yeah.
And then we ended up picking up one from the fire station and then returned the one from the gate company. But there's a lot more involved than just buying it. It has to go through the county and approvals and all that stuff.
Okay,
So there is a fee associated, but the way you pick it up is, somewhat through these guys, but we did have one extra sitting on the desk that needed to go back. I can't verify that it went back, but
okay,
that was for the gate company that installed the exit gate loop.
okay. So we'll just, if you check into it, see where we're at with that, that'd be great.
I have your information on that. This is Steve.
Oh my God. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so the one that we have in the office, the company has voided the check that we paid, and that's already been taken care of through Rob and Fieldstone. So the guy just hasn't picked up the switch. The Knox switch that fire department is billing us for is correct. We do need to pay that. That bill was sent in, and Dawn is upset because it wasn't paid on time and has now wanting to charge $35 late fee on that. But we do owe for that switch, that Knox switch.
Do you know if it's been paid or not?
No.
Okay. Then we'll mark that down as a to-do item.
That would mean Fieldstone has not entered it because I have approved every single invoice the day they come in for approval.
And that invoice is what Steve, we sent that 2 months ago. Almost.
Yeah.
Julie.
Yeah. Julie has received the billing again and has sent a note to from Fieldstone to Don Colfeltz asking if he would not charge the $35 with an apology. I have not heard anything from Don Colfeltz since.
I'll leave that in your pocket.
I'll get back to you by Tuesday afternoon.
Thank you.
We'll take over that part.
Okay. All right, so, you got communications up. So now, communications, and that's Jim, was there anything else? Sorry.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Communication?
I love it. Brian's like, I don't know. So the reason why we wanted to take a minute is because there's been a lot of confusion on the site lately. And there's one really important aspect. If you're logging into the site looking for information and you can't find it, but we've said it's there, because you haven't logged into the site. So there's two different sides. There's a public facing site that anybody in the world can see. And then there's a site that just the landowners can see. And that's going to include things like our newsletter. Potentially, we haven't launched that. I'm going to talk about that in a second. It's going to include some of the online payments, some of the reporting of violations. Outsiders don't have access to our documents, so you'll see these come up. So just know that if you're struggling to find something, it's probably because you didn't actually log in before you started looking for it. And then the second part is about the newsletter. So Jess Mayer, who's been working really hard to get it up and rocking, and it should be done hopefully by the end of this week is what she's hoping for, so she can go on a little mini vacation and not have to worry about it anymore. So we should have the newsletter. It is going to be a summary of everything that happened in 2024, and then we'll go forward with quarterly reports, quarterly newsletters from there. They will be, I think we mentioned it a couple times, mentioned in budget too. They will be online and they will be emailed to everyone. We'll have a couple printed out in the office for those that prefer to come and touch it in person. They'll have that available as well. So a communication will go out as soon as it's cleared and ready to go.
Bingo.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, you're welcome.
I have a question. This is Steve again. I have a question for communications.
Yes, go ahead.
Perfect. Did you know that you do not have to log in to see the calendar, which is correct, but did you know that you have the link to the Zoom on there without logging in?
Yeah.
Is that what you want? Is that what you want?
Well, but for this meeting, that's the way it happened, and it hasn't been that way before, and it won't be that way.
Okay, it was just just for your information. How can we communicate as a landowner on our site?
That is on, you go onto the main page, again, you have to log in. You can either scroll down clear to the bottom where it says recent news. And you can, couple different ways, you can just click on any of those and you'll see, as it pulls up, you'll see this create button. And you can create a message.
Oh, thank you.
Or, I mean, there's other ways you can get to it too, but that's the easiest way. Scroll down to the bottom, hit read more and go to create.
So we're allowed to do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Same as-
That's why.
yeah, same as the other site that we used to have, any landowner could go out and make a post there. That wasn't controlled.
Okay. Is there a for sale area?
Well, once people start using it, if we identify we need 1 million different folders, I think the other site had all these different folders and they were never used. When we looked at statistics, they were just sitting there. People didn't use them. So besides Mary Graff and I posting on there, nobody else posts there right now. So if people start posting, we can start looking at whether we need to create folders.
And there's not a classified tab that, you know, when you click it, it goes to what looks like a classified section and it breaks down that way. That currently is not, I don't think it's available. Maybe in the future it would become available, but yeah, she's talking about creating folders and then people going into the folders and just viewing what's in them versus similar to the news feed. Instead of it being news feed, it would be like classifieds and they would break down into like vehicles. And then within vehicles, we don't have that.
Or the capacity to do that.
I mean, it would be managed by the landowner as in like, they just post just like they would on the news feed. But instead of, hey, how's it going? It's, hey, my F-150 is for sale. Which currently is what the Facebook page is kind of, the non-Three Rivers resident, or the non-Three Rivers official Facebook page is kind of for.
I think that's something we'll move to again.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else for communication?
No, I think Ryan's done.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sweet.
Other than Steve, you were good. So, Firewise. Shannon,
Yeah, hi, everybody, Shannon Hoffitz, reporting for Firewise. Last month I met with Levi and Dawn about some grant money that the fire department received to do some remediation projects, and they actually have 4 different projects proposed within the gate. And they assured me there's 0 cost to Three Rivers. They have a $75,000 grant. Not that they're gonna utilize all of those funds, but the amount that they have will cover 4 different projects, which fall in line with our 3 to 5 year plan within Three Rivers. I don't know if you had a chance to review the projects last meeting, but just in summary, really quick, there's 3 roadside projects. And what that means is the common area from the roads that I'm going to talk about, there's the common area from the center line to the roadside within, let's see, Upper Canyon, there's 1.6 miles or about 5 acres. There's Dynamite Lane, that's about 1.5 miles, about 4.4 acres. There's the D-Lane Hunter Loop. That's about 7.3 acres, and I believe it's all of D-Lane and Hunter's Loop. And then the bigger project is Little Canyon. They're gonna, let's see, debris removal. And what they're looking at doing within Little Canyon is, you'll see all those little piles that are already from a previous project. What they're looking at doing is a burn of the underbrush and getting rid of all of the junipers and keeping the ponderosa pines there. So they're looking at a major clean out of Little Canyon. So those are, in summary, the 4 projects that are going on. There is absolutely no cost to Three Rivers, which is positive, and they assured me that it's projects from beginning to end. And I think with the partnership that we have going on, making sure that the projects are cleaned out, all of the debris is either gonna be burned in place or taken to the pit. We have a good cadence going with the burning of the pit, making sure that's done, and whatnot, so bringing that forward to look to a vote to see and they hope to get the work done this year before the summer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Especially little candy. Happy for everybody.
They want all 4 done this summer.
Yes, that's what I understand, prior to summertime, yes. And, they'll work with us to communicate with the homeowners where because they need to notify the homeowners that fall within the common area from the road. Communicating with the folks whose property that the road project abuts up against and whatnot, so the notification and all of that.
I have a Firewise question. I've had a lot of people ask me how to get in touch and put in for the grant
Mhm.
or just to get evaluated. And I told them to call the fire station and several people have let me know they've never been answered back. So is that the best way to do it? Is to call
Yes, it is.
just the regular fire line?
So I posted something and I can, send it, I can put it on the website now that I know how to.
Newsfeed?
Levi has given me his contact information. And that's at the bottom of the post that I just put on. I don't know if you all saw it, but they have some grant money also for gift cards. If you call Levi, he'll come out,
Yeah.
take a peek. And then once the work is done, he'll come out afterwards. And then I've heard from him that he's gotten a couple of calls and a handful of calls about that to
Okay.
come out and do
Okay.
evaluations. So
I saw that, but I didn't make a mental note about the phone number that was different. So I'll
I
list
just
that
use
on.
that number at the bottom of
Yeah.
that piece.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so your intent then is to get a motion to agree to go ahead with the 4 projects that LCF&R has come up with to do within, 3 Rivers.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, these guys suck at making motions, so.
I would, but I can't.
Yeah, they do. Actually, you can get a motion and there can be motions made from the floor. And that's one of the things that we would have to recognize whether that would be, it would be then sponsored by one of the directors and the director would follow that up. So do you have something written up that you feel you could use as your motion base?
I don't have anything written up
Okay.
now, but I mean,
You can wing it. I do every time.
okay, can I, so
Well- No, how about we make a motion that the board approves the actions? Or are they actions, the events?
Projects.
projects,
Okay, board approves 4 projects sponsored by LCF&R. To be started as soon as possible, completed prior to
the summer season.
the summer season, okay, we can use that as a general.
At no cost to the,
And these projects are at no cost to the 3 Rivers.
Correct.
Now, there really wouldn't be anything else that we would need to put in there, save for them taking care of the direct item to contacting the particular landowners,
Yes.
so. Okay, so we have that motion on the table.
With a year on that.
What-
Summer of 2025.
2025.
Oh, 2025, okay. So we have that down, you got it. As best you can.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. I won't ask you to read it back.
Feedback.
You- Do you want the, Dynamite Lane?
I don't know, if we identify it as projects, they are already identifying the projects by name, so it would be the same.
Yep.
They're not going to change on this, so that would be what they were doing, so that would be identifiable through them. So do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Brian. Now discussion. This would be Tom, Morgan, anything?
Good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, then we'll call for a vote.
Rob,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Okay, so you have your,
Cooperation.
your green light.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'll keep, as the projects come up, I'll work with Michelle and make sure that, or now that I know how to do it, communication of the projects, make
Right.
sure the members and the community is kept up to date with what's happening when.
And big highlights, yeah, just send those to Michelle and they'll get put on the official Three Rivers page too. And if you do make a big post like that, say you go in and write up all this information on the website, if you let us know that you did that, then we can link it on the Facebook page instead of us writing it again or anything of that nature, just link it. So those are our options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just another plug for Firewise, the hours that you all submit to me through the Microsoft forms and whatnot, because we are a Firewise community, the hours that you all track, whether volunteer hours, Meg, thank you. And any of the work that you do in the common areas, I know Dave and I have talked about that, those hours help us become a Firewise community, which does in turn help us get this grant money to get work done at no cost. So thank you all very much.
Well, you've got big shoes to fill in
And
this
she's
job,
filling them well.
but you're doing a fantastic job. You're right in there. You've done a lot. Other than I've not met you until today, you're very good at keeping us up to date and your information is always clear and accurate. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we know what they're gonna, how the brush down to the pit, or are they gonna burn
Yeah, it's gonna be
summer?
Some of both.
It's gonna be a little bit of both. So like on the roadside ones where they can burn, they will. But if not, they're gonna haul it to the pit and then Little Canyon, because they're gonna be doing that flash burn or whatever that burn is called. They will burn in place there. It will.
See, there's piles that were done years ago. There was a group of people thought they could clean it all up in one of the days they were done. But those piles, I don't think you could move that. Related.
They're gonna burn those. I talked to them about them.
Yeah.
And said that they're eyesores and we need them to go away with the project. And they assured me that they'll burn them.
Great.
Girl.
Okay, Jim, you had a comment?
I just wanted to say, I think Levi is probably the best contact for any of the mitigation projects or Firewise from the fire district. And if you guys ever have any issues with the responsiveness of the fire district, please bring that back to me at the meeting. Or however you want to get a hold of me, but please let me know if we're not responding to phone calls, messages, whatever.
Okay, great. All right, and again, thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Okay, so now we're down to volunteer fundraising.
Yeah.
Which one's you doing? Okay,
I'm gonna come up here.
sweet.
Let me read this. So at the last board meeting, we talked about the best practices for the volunteer fundraising committee, the best way to structure it. We had a meeting with our CPA firm and wanted their guidance on the best approach, best practices. And their comment was to keep it as it is, make a motion to make it a restricted fund. And I committed to creating a motion, so I wrote one down. I'd like to read that motion now. So the Volunteer Fundraising Committee is requesting a motion to make the assets available in volunteer fundraising account 11,900 and 11,950 a restricted fund. This applies to all income, account number 89500 and subaccounts, and expense account number 99500 and subaccounts. This request is consistent with the recommendation of best practices by the Three Rivers owned certified public accounting firm, Schwint and Company. These funds are to be used solely for Three Rivers common area improvements and or activities that benefit Three Rivers landowners. The Volunteer Fundraising Committee will be responsible for any federal, state taxes that result in making this a restricted fund. The Volunteer Committee will pay for their share of any general administrative costs. Any project over $2,000 will require board approval. Any expense over $500, a two-person authorization is required by the committee chair, co-chair, or board member. Specifically, the Volunteer Fundraising Committee agrees to fund the following: maintenance and cleaning of 1/3 of the portable restrooms that are placed on Three River Common area property, maintenance of the fire break golf disc course, including weed abatement programs, the operational maintenance of the event center and recreation hall, including the cost of propane, diesel, water, and cleaning services, the annual Three Rivers Easter event, annual Labor Day games, bingo during Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. A member of the Volunteer Fundraising Committee will participate in the annual budgeting process and willing to adjust the funding priorities and levels as the need of the community change. So that's my motion.
Okay,
I'll give you a copy of it.
Actually, you know, you give it
give it to Steve. Or Dave, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, we have a motion on the floor. That's presented by the Volunteer Fundraising Committee. It's been read. Did everybody clearly hear it, understand? Any questions about the motion?
In that call, they talked about the need to apply for, we talked about the need to apply for like gambling permits, that sort of thing for like the bingo and that sort of thing. So I don't know, do we have to include that in the motion, do we think, or is that just part of operations?
I think you brought that up, the accountant didn't bring that up, and I don't know that you understood that the bingo, the winner takes all, we don't take any of that, but the winners win like $30.
Well,
So there's gotta be a number.
Meg, the problem with that is that. And again, I don't mean to keep badgering on one particular homemade, but. By state law, anything that you have, whether it's a bingo game, a raffle, whatever, you have to make an application and you have to have a license for it. They're like $20. They're nothing. But you have to have that as registered. That then limits your liability to whatever you're doing. So it would just be something, and once you have the license or the permit, you don't have to get it every year. You don't have to do anything. And of course, I didn't bring my file folder, but I can send off to you. And I think you've seen the numbers where it's at.
So have other people gotten that okey dokey for raffle? Because we've even done quilt raffles and. a bunch of
No,
other
they haven't. They haven't. And the good old boy thing is great
Yeah.
until in the immediate future, you will discover that the good old boy thing in Three Rivers has gone down the river and it doesn't work anymore because it comes around, being nice to people comes around and bites you in the butt. And so it's a simple thing to do. If we just dot our i's, cross our t's, we're good. And I think doing this, the way you guys have it set up is exactly the way it should be done.
Okay.
Then it's in the minutes,
Okay.
it's done.
Okay.
There's there's no more argument about it. People can't come up and say this or that.
Okay.
Boom, it's.
I have no problems adding, that we'll go get a
Permits, whatever.
permit.
No, I think that would be just in lieu of normal operation.
Yeah.
But I think your motion is well written.
Yeah.
At this point. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Morgan second, okay.
I
Now,
think that's
any
it.
further discussion on it?
What are our thoughts with including, since we're labeling specifically, security for bingo events and also aspects of the gun club? And I want to expand on where my brain is going here. Obviously, we're looking at a dues increase issue that will be discussed at the annual meeting and voted on. And the intent is to have a larger general fund with any excess going out to where we need to be net zero. But if we're gonna label and restrict this fund, I personally believe that the gun club expense from our general fund should roll into the volunteer restricted fund, if we do make it restricted. And specifically the security for the bingo, because we've had that discussion on costs for that. And I want to reiterate that, like, if we increase dues and have an abundance, that could be spent in these areas. So it's not like we're saying to take it completely away, but for the sake of identifying these line items.
So my comment to that would be, we don't need security at bingo. And I don't think that the volunteer fundraising committee can fund the gun club. I mean, we just can't afford it. So
Yeah, I guess I'd like to clarify that, the gun club is a full separate 501c7 entity. The Three Rivers budget is for common property improvements only, nothing other than the gun club does the volunteer labor and we spend that money. But it's really nothing to do with the gun club. Those funds don't go through our accounts, our banks. There's no commingling of funds. This is commingling of projects.
And I think that's where I may have misspoke on gun club specifically, the title, because I know, what is our budget item for? We have, you may not have it in front of you, but every year we budget.
Right.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
excuse me, that's where I made a mistake. So the rifle range,
10,000.
so. 10,000, that, I agree, that's gonna be, that's a large number. I'm just saying, for identifying to make this restricted, I believe that we should put the rifle range into the volunteer restricted fund. But again, I want to reiterate, with the hopes of our March meeting, that we get an increase in dues and abundance of money, we could then give back to even this fund, that fund, and other funds. I don't want to say that you're gonna pay for the rifle range period every year from here on out. But I also want to say that if we're gonna make this restricted, I believe that the rifle range should be part of volunteer fund money, because you have the golf course. The rifle range, in my eyes, is similar to the golf course. It is an area outside of what it requires for the association to operate.
well, again, I think that those type, so the volunteer fundraising committee is not a slush fund for the general operations of Three Rivers. That needs to be funded by the dues. Our project, our focus is to do things above and beyond the general operations of Three Rivers. I took a look at, there are certain things around the bathrooms that are around the event center, or the rec hall and the event center. And there are things that are specifically kind of targeted at, the volunteer fundraising committee, Easter, they use the bathrooms. So I try to put some money in here to say, hey, listen, we're willing to help pay our fair share, but I mean, we don't make that much money. We have saved quite a bit, and we have some money in the account, but we want to apply those towards special projects. So I don't agree with, that money that's on the rifle range. I mean, I fundamentally disagree, so.
Okay, another part of those funds is that it doesn't need to be restricted. I mean, if you gave me twice that amount of money, I would still have it spent by the end of October. So we don't carry any money over or need to. Yeah, I think we're losing sight of that the gun club manages a portion of and is entitled to use common ground at Three Rivers, that being the rifle range. Right. The money that we put into the $10,000, or, back when we started, you were only allowed to have $5,000, and that was never enough, I could tell, and it was always gonna grow. But we could give that money, and you have always applied that money to improvement of that area. And I agree, John, fencing, weed management, whatever it needed, you took care of that and you directed those funds. and continued to manage the rifle range, because you're in control of when it's open, when it's closed, when, what activities go on down there. All that is controlled by your group. And that's important because that's what we wanted it to do when we originally signed that and agreed to that as a board. The volunteer fundraising committee, I go back to the fact that there really isn't anything that you don't do to create money that isn't just work that you do. I mean, you go get the cans, you do the raffles, you do the bingo, all of that is money. So it becomes money that is directable by the people who earn it. And yes, everybody donates to the cans and everybody does this or that, but as Meg will tell you feverishly, come down and do the cans and understand what it takes to make that kind of money. So I think having you pay for something or directly be in charge of something, or that being a fund that something passes through, is not something that we want to really have done. We want you to be your standalone committee doing with what you do. John has his standalone, he gets money from the board. The volunteer fundraising committee, at this point in time, we see doesn't need to get money from the board. It doesn't need to have money come out of the general fund. They create their own money. So now down the road, something may change. Something may happen. My only concern is that with control of the assets, it has to be maintained that the association controls the assets. The event center, the rec center, the disc golf course, all of that, just as we do with gun club, they control it. But by the same token, we're giving operation of that, just as we gave John and that committee, but John, it wasn't John who was directing it at that time, but we gave the Big Canyon Gun Club the opportunity to control that. I think really essentially that's what we're doing here, is giving the volunteer fundraising committee the chance to do what they do best. You know, that's, you take care of that stuff, because that stuff is the most important too. So that's what, unless we have another question, go ahead.
I just want to clarify one thing on here. I know Meg's taken care of this before. Excuse me, the all the picnic tables down at the beach and everything, with your itemized list here.
They're on order.
I know they're on order, but for your itemized list, is that going to be included as part of this motion?
Not part of the beach.
But as far as the itemized list here, that's,
I don't think it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
I don't want to make a big deal out of all this, but that's, those tables will kind of get to be a big deal.
right. So I tried to add some things to provide some clarity, at the risk of, there's a lot of things we do that's not on this list. And so without writing a book of all the things that we do, I think it's understood that we're responsible for the beach. The picnic tables are a big part of that. I didn't put it on there. If we need to, we can. But we do the beach cleanup every spring. And part of that is assessment of the picnic tables. And if we need to replace them, we pay for that.
And docking.
Any other questions?
I just, as treasurer, I would like to see if we can plug in just one line about that they will get proper permits to align with
Okay.
Oregon tax code. Not for this particular group, but like 5 volunteer fundraising committees down the road, that they know that that's part of their charge to eliminate liability, not just from the volunteer fund committee, but also the entire association.
And Bill, is that a county permit, or where would we go for an application?
State.
It's a state permit, and it comes from the Justice Department. It's the second paragraph in the Justice Department's explanation of bingo at 501 or nonprofits, what basically, I'll get everybody that particular deal, and we have it. Mary, you have it?
We'll likely need the same thing.
Yeah, we should just all get on the same page so that we're done. It really. I would just as soon get it all in line so that we don't have somebody gonna come up and say, well, hey, you didn't do this and you cheated me out of a $30 bingo ticket and now I get it. And yeah, you wouldn't think it would happen, but
You never know.
it will, so.
Okay,
We'll add the line.
So we could add, well, yeah, the volunteer fundraising committee will obtain. I gotta get my glasses on here. The necessary permits for all raffles and gaming activities.
Okay. Add that to it. Okay.
Okay.
So we have an amended motion on the floor. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second.
Rob seconds the amended motion. Any discussion on the amended motion? Okay, then we'll call for a vote.
Rob,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Brian,
No,
Dave's the yes.
All right.
We will have a volunteer fundraising committee meeting, Saturday,
Yep, 25th.
the 25th, in the, at like 5 o'clock, I think. Followed by a spaghetti dinner, right? So please come down. And we've also started planning for Easter. So activities will be, obviously on whoever hasn't been here during Easter, there's lots of gifts and things for the kids. And so that planning process is underway. And we do need to have the bathrooms. I'll coordinate with the make sure we have the bathrooms in place, for Easter. And I think it's late late April, right? So,
So the day before, it's on Saturday now, I think it's the 19th.
right.
And so we'd want the outhouses there by the 18th.
Right.
Friday. the 18th.
Okay. I'll coordinate with Stacy. She got a personal relationship with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, Big Canyon Gun Club, John.
Can I ask a question? You're talking about getting these permits. Now the Easter egg hunt, there is quite a few raffles, but none of it includes money. Nobody buys the tickets. The kiddos all get a ticket and then they
Yeah,
draw stuff.
That's
So
not
that
really
doesn't
a
count.
raffle.
Okay.
That's not good.
Just wanna make
That's
sure.
under the law, that's not considered. a raffle.
Okay.
All right. I'm glad to report that our fencing project around the shotgun area at the range is now completed. So the entire west side up to the hillside and the south side behind the trap area is fenced with a wildlife friendly 3-strand fence. So it's good to see that done. It helps our insurance rates and keeps our insurance in place, as well as keeps a quad or a motorcycle from running into areas that they shouldn't be. Second thing, our website is pretty much completed for the gun club. And at one time, we talked about having a link from the Three Rivers site. So we used to have the Big Canyon Gun Club tab up above. If there's a way that we could have somebody hit a link and it goes to our website that populates, where and how all of our shoots are done, explains where our revenue comes from. Pretty proud of it. Mary finally got us off center and helped us tremendously as we undertook something we had no knowledge how to do.
There you go.
And John, Mary's back there shaking her head saying she'll make it happen.
Seems to be.
She's been utilizing the pistol area quite successfully. Yeah, for a net.
Yeah. So to clarify, I think where we left it in our discussion, when the new board assembled, we were able to sell raffle tickets from the gate office. We generate a little less than $200 a year, but that's a significant amount of money for us. And where we left it, if I remember, we would have the volunteer committee sell the raffle tickets. That way it's not separate funds for the gun club. Then if they want to donate it to the gun club, that's fine, but it would allow us to continue to sell raffle tickets at the gate. Now, we do have a lockbox and the option, you know, the gate gals could go ahead and put it in there at the end of the day, or anyway, I just want to clarify if that's okay that I worked with Meg and we find a way to keep that going from the front office.
Okay, that will end up being a question between Dave with the office and Ryan, who is handling that aspect. So, yeah, you guys, what have we got?
You do have a
Yeah.
lockbox, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right.
Okay, so the money can go directly into the lockbox. Issuing the raffles, are they little, what do you receive?
Yeah, just those little tear off tickets, the customer keeps one goes in a jar, and we pick up the money every once in a while that I check the lockbox weekly or so, and we go ahead and manage that, and, you know, we're not holding Three Rivers responsible for any of the money whatsoever at all. Just like to be able to sell raffle tickets. Does take a little bit of the gatekeeper's time, but not a lot, basically.
They've done it for
Somebody
several
lays
years
down,
now.
yeah, $20 and they get a certain number of tickets for whatever item that we're raffling off, and they go in a jar, not.
Okay, so to describe the actions at the office, that person would just say, okay, you want to buy 4 tickets. Here's your 4 tickets, put your name and phone number on the back of these tickets. Here's your copy of that ticket, take the money and put it in that lockbox.
Yeah, they really don't sell. A person comes in, we have a nice little display that's sitting on the counter. And one of our landowners would say, oh, I'd like to get some tickets, you know, I'll get them for the water, or I'll get them for the whatever. And
Yeah.
so then, our gate people would take out the blue tickets, yellow tickets, red tickets, whatever. Give it to that person, grab the $20 or whatever, and move on.
Everything but the grabbing of the $20
Yeah.
is fine.
Yeah.
So you're instilling and entrusting that the employee in the office is gonna be
Right.
saying 20 for 2. You see the 20 go into the box and you hand the 2. The
Okay.
20 never touches the employee's hand.
Okay.
Yes,
So
that'd
they
be-
would just
and that could
directly
happen.
go to our box.
Yep, that could directly
And
happen.
we have it well labeled with our logo on it. So.
You have a QR code so they can digitally donate, or I guess that, never mind.
Mary, come up with a QR.
Office staff would have to verify
Yeah.
that, so, yeah. never mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to exchange tickets. and stuff.
I mean, they can go above and beyond with their own QR code and do their own thing, but
They
yeah,
can get a hold of me.
yeah.
And so who would be responsible for getting this raffle permit? Would the gun club have to get?
In that particular case, the gun club would be the one,
Okay,
and you guys should just have one,
Yep.
I mean, just to have it, so,
is it a whole year thing or?
and it's a one-time,
Oh,
basically, purchase.
oh, okay.
I don't know of a renewal on it, you just have to have the.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
Okay,
Okay,
so we're good to go, Dave?
Yeah, yep.
All right.
Thanks, John.
The last thing I wanted to bring up and kind of get off center is we've talked for a couple of years about the Grapevine property that is now going to be an extension of the gun club and for future expansion and relocating that road. And I don't know if you have the map that you could put up. I sent it to Bill, but I have it on.
I didn't get the map,
Oh, you didn't?
no, sorry.
I've got it on a memory stick if you.
Prepared. That is impressive.
Mary, you've overtrained,
Challenges.
way overtrained.
But as I understand, Three Rivers is obligated to improve that road. It goes currently through the rifle range, makes a 90-degree corner, and then actually is placed in front of our firing line. And it would actually eliminate really any expansion of the firing line or gun club activities. This first map just shows the area in blue, which is what has been what is now part of Three Rivers. And so you can see the range to the left area, and you see the gravel road that goes down through the center of that property over to a gate that is now Raybine's property that's up for sale. There's another map there. You want to bring that one up? So what I would like to do is to keep that traffic from going down by our gravelled area during summer activity, the dust, the noise, all of the motorcycles, the side-by-sides, the quads, everybody goes down through there and accesses some of those other trails. And I would like to see that road moved up above where you see it wouldn't be a straight road like that line indicates. I don't know how to use the program to curve it around the hillside there, but basically, from where that landing is up above, that's about the property line. There's Three Rivers property to the south of that line. But if we want to expand into the archery area, which the 40-acre working group came up with their recommendations after feedback from the community, to use it for a sediment pond, basically everything down below the gravel road that currently goes across there is unusable. It's drainage, and then you start straight up the hillside, so there's not much that can be done there. But if we could move this road before we put, whatever it might be, $20,000 into this other road, which is really gonna minimize what the range is able to use. So what I'd like to do is make a motion that the first step, we go forward and contract with Dave Heinz, who would put a four-wheeler trail from point A to point B, outlining where he sees the best way to put that road in place. Allow the board to take a look at what we're gonna try to do, and then he'll have enough information at that point to have a fairly accurate bid, he felt, and it should be put out to Mike Patton. As I understand, Tom Kappelman was interested in taking a look at it. So after we get the route laid out, the board said, yeah, this makes sense. Then we could move forward with a bid process and get this project going. Because as I understand, Jerry feels we haven't been quite fulfilling the time obligation that he thought that road would be in and taken care of now. So.
Well, there's, as you and I have discussed several times, there's more to it than just here's 40 acres to do that. Using it, we went through a good process. Joe Parrott made an excellent job of coming up and getting an idea what people wanted to do. So now we know what we want to do. And yes, the road's in a bad spot, the current road. So now, with going with Mr. Hines, what was his cost for doing the dirt trail?
$3,000, up to $3,000. And I did talk with Bob yesterday. He's still in the process because it would be road funds. But we had a little miscommunication. He was waiting on me and I was waiting on him. So I went down and talked to Dave, and everybody was in agreement that if the weather holds, he could get right on that and hopefully come up with whatever the board would need before our annual meeting.
That, yeah, if at all possible, this would be a great annual meeting discussion point, so. Okay. So the motion would be to budget $3,000 to allow Dave Hines Construction, is that the name of his company?
It is.
Okay, cool. To put in a preliminary access road to access Raybine property. Work to be completed as soon as possible.
At first I heard it was trail, but that makes sense between road and trail.
I tell you, you can get a road for $3,000.
Is what to expect.
Yeah, mark out where you have an event for side by sides to race back and forth and you'll make a trail for free.
A rally race, they'll be done enough to.
Yeah, I don't, Jeff, I'm not sure. Without describing what a road would be, after going through all that we did with DeMonte and the property and roads that didn't exist, what were called roads, I don't know what we would really call it. A trail, we could put in an access trail, it's a preliminary
Route.
project, yeah, to route, to find, really to just let us know if it's feasible, and from there, the cost.
And I've walked it several times. It looks, I don't see any rock outcroppings. I don't see
Yeah.
anything that's, other than the first, you can see the drainage, right where all of those trails stop. It would take some culverts and, other than that, it's just pretty easy cut. But again, I don't know what's 2 feet under the topsoil.
Yeah.
Are we discussing right now or?
No, I
Okay.
put the motion out, if we got a second, and we'll discuss.
I'll second the motion.
Ryan? Okay, now we can have discussion.
Is he cutting in this trail in the same exact path where the road ultimately would be?
That's what it would be, so
Okay.
that it would be an even bidding process to anybody that wants to go look at the trail. Here's the footage of it, here's the width that we're gonna want, and part of that, I don't really know. I don't know if you've ever found any paperwork. from
Yeah,
Randy and Jerry.
Kevin back there in the back has provided the information. I know Jerry wanted a road wide enough for 2 cars to pass, and Kevin noted that that was not correct, but the thing that we had set aside was the standard single car right away. But
Right.
I mean, we need to work with it because it's part of property, so we've got to make an access road. You can't do a dirt trail to get there. You gotta have something people could pull a trailer house down or a boat or something like, it's gotta be a good road.
And the road has to meet fire standards.
Yeah.
And this is explorative based on the future of the rifle range. So I guess the question would be, where are we gonna pull this 3,000 from? Which,
It comes from roads. And the reason it's coming from roads is because we have to do something down there, so that would be.
Yeah,
I see
but-
what you're saying.
yeah, in my eyes, expansion of the current road would be roads, but exploring a new road to expand the gun range. This is where it gets,
Well, it isn't expanding the gun range. What happens is the 40 acres is community property. And we did Joe Barrett did the research, people wanted this to be done. So that's where, like John had mentioned, the archery range, the hiking trails have to go in, the expansion of the gun range. That was all part of what was doing, so that's utilization of the 40 acres is what we're doing.
Regardless of utilization, we committed to a road
Yep.
as an association,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We have to put the road in.
Yeah.
Jerry deserves a road to his property, to that gate up at the top there.
And the other thing to consider on the relocation is twice in the last 40 years, we've seen water runoff in the spring high enough that it actually goes across that current road. So obviously,
Oh, yeah.
whoever spent $1 million for a piece of property back there and couldn't access it because it's underwater wouldn't be very happy with it. So it's gonna take considerable amount of money to improve that road that already exists in that position.
That's it, 311.
Okay? Any other questions? Okay,
So are we, this new access, is that gonna be just for off-roading?
No, it'd be just for the 3 lots that Jerry Rabine's trying to
Okay.
and the
sell.
way it sets, the way the hard part is there's a natural ditch right here.
Right.
And that's where you have trouble crossing. once you get across there, this road would actually follow right around, there's a bluff, this is a kind of a bluff, and you're just gonna go right around the edge, over to this side of the bluff, and then turn and come right down. This is a little downhill right through here, and would end up.
So what happens to the other road there?
We would vacate it.
Yeah,
With all that rock we've just put in there?
Well, hopefully with volunteers, we'd reclaim it.
So we don't have our roads here, but Kevin, I guess the question is, the road that we identified to give to Rabine, what part is already there and needs to be upgraded, and what part needs to be new? Like, was the agreement that we would upgrade what's currently there or move it like we're intending to do? Do you know?
It was just to upgrade the original road at the time, was Randy's got a different opinion on it, but that's what I got the bid for, was to just rework that road like I did Rifle Range Road. I improved that, you know, regraded it and rocked it, and that's what we were gonna do to that road.
And see,
That might have involved the culvert here or the culvert there, but, you know, that took 2 or 3 years to get the thing done with Rabine, so.
correct. So the agreement was not to build an entirely new road, but the proposition is to build an entirely new road in order to make the rifle range larger for various activities. Is that correct?
Well, Randy can probably speak for that better than I can, because at one time, we were just gonna improve the road, and then we came into some negotiations, so.
I mean, it was to use the existing 311 and bring it to his property. Because he's not really defined the lots as they were set. So that was to improve the road, but I think to John's point is that it interferes with the right of way. You know,
Has anybody run this by Rabine to see if this solution would be acceptable to him? Because I think we owe him that.
I talked with Jerry over the last couple of years, but I think that's what I like about the idea of making this route designated, so Jerry'd be able to put his eyes on it and say, yeah, this would work great. I mean, it's gonna be a much better road for him. The current 90-degree corner on this map, it's pretty steep going down to the range at that point. It would eliminate that for winter travel. It's gonna be a nice, easy grade and slope for him. Just really looks like a win-win for everybody. And then this is a lot of Three Rivers common area that could be expanded up above for more four-wheeler, motorcycle tracks, so on. All of that ground, including past where the bottom of this picture is open Three Rivers common area that's not utilized all the way up to the top of Upper Canyon Road.
Yeah, I don't think.
I'm all in with putting in the road, if we need to. I just want to make sure it satisfies Jerry. And this may be a little off topic, but you know, from a funding source, we've kicked the can around about what we want to do with the annex and what we want to do with the extra plow trucks. Maybe we can sell them and use that for the road.
And see, that's where I'm kind of going with this, is that we all saw the budget. Roads didn't have a whole lot of money in there, and we're gonna spend 3 just to see if this road works. I think we need multiple bids on understanding the possibility and the overall cost to go that route. And then agreeance with Rabine, I think, is, that he agrees that road looks good. I mean, on paper, yeah, it looks great. We're all saying that. No one's disagreeing with that. It's just a money issue and being fully understanding what that right there will cost versus just upgrading something that's already flat.
I've walked that area before, and Dave Hines, if he suggests that, I would go with that. Your mobilization to get somebody in here is gonna be $5,000. So you can go get a bid, but I think Dave offers pretty good for you guys here. And I think that road should be relocated for John, that I just heard, for liability purposes, down there, if they want to expand that range.
No, I agree. I'm just saying 3,000 is not gonna build that road. We all know that.
No, but I
There's no,
thought you just said it was a route so that you could see.
Yeah.
People could agree on it before you did it, and Dave would probably change it here or there. He's done several
Correct.
roads for me, and he's as good as you'll get.
I'm waiting on the roads budget for 2025, so I would be most comfortable knowing what that budget is before adding more, but that's just my.
and yeah, I think that we're on the same page there. That's,
Well,
So are we good with, if we proceed with this project like this, is Rabine good with that?
He had no disagreement on our.
'Cause I don't wanna
part.
go in and build something and then he goes, no, this isn't gonna work out, and here we are.
I think it'd be in our interest to show him this map and have something signed and agreed upon, not just he said it was okay. Cause I know he probably wouldn't, but I would hate for us to start and then someone go, well, wait a second. I actually want it over here.
Well, the issue with that, and that coming up is great and understanding, and I visit with Jerry regularly to a point, although since we've gotten this done, I've not heard back from him, but I will tell you that his only concern is get a road to that gate. How it gets to that gate, he doesn't really matter. He wants to be able to sell his lots. He wants to have that road improved so that people can drive in and see that there's a good access road. Access and egress is not a problem, but the gate, from that gate, which is right here, that's where the gate is. All we have to do is get a road there. We need to get an access road. That's what he's asking for. That's what he wants. So, yeah, we can, I think, I agree 100%. We need to have him involved in that, show him what we're doing. I think John does that. I have full faith that you can contact Jerry and say, hey, look, this is what we're intending to do and this is where we're at. But we've got to get something done. We've got to move forward on this. So we either throw our money at improving the existing road or put the money towards a new route and reclaim what we can of the existing road. So that's pretty much where the motion lies.
And the other thing, during extreme fire season, when we lock off the gate, we would change that gate to where we drop down toward the range and the access road to Jerry's property would be open.
Yes.
Smart.
Okay. So any further discussion?
Well, I would, at this moment, I would vote against it just because I need to see the road budget. To see if we even, okay, let's say we approve, we put 3,000 towards it, great, that's fine, it's not a lot. But then we get 3 bids and they're $100,000 and we have 170,000 in roads right now with existing roads that need repair. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding for what the roads budget is with this included. And then the other thing would be like having Rabine, like Ryan said, approve and writing like, yeah, this looks like a good path.
And for clarity, that 170, you might as well write that as 0 because nothing was done this year that was scheduled.
Yeah.
That money is earmarked, and maybe a little less than 170, but a large portion of that was earmarked for what didn't get done. So we can't.
It was already scheduled.
Yeah, so it's taken.
But we're actually at two different things. The question on the table is if we put in an exploratory road to determine an alternate access to Rabine's property. That's what we're trying to do. Well, no matter what, whether it's $100,000 to build a new road or it's $100,000 to improve the old road, it doesn't really matter in this particular case. All we're voting on is, do we want to have, for $3,000, identify an alternate route that would satisfy several issues. So
That makes sense.
that's what we're voting on, really, at the bottom.
Cause then that can influence like what the assessments need to possibly go to in order to afford this future work. Once, because they do the $3,000 work, and then we get bids. We see what those bids are added into the budget, look at the shortfall. Yeah, okay.
Will this cause us to need environmental permits, engineering permits, building permits, any of that stuff?
There is a permit that will be required that is for runoff and drainage. And that would be something that the builder would have to have. They're the ones who are responsible for that. And that's a DEQ permit, by the way. Okay, motion is on the floor. Any other discussion? And again, the motion pertains specifically to an exploratory access road. Alternate access road for Wayland's property. Moved and seconded, so we have roll call.
Rob,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So, John, you have the ball. Take care of what we need to take care of. You understand the apprehensions that the other director have.
Absolutely.
And I trust you implicitly, so let us know what you find out.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, who's next? Gatekeeper, Steve.
Hello. Can you hear
Hey,
me
buddy.
okay? How are you?
Good, happy New Year.
All right. Okay, can you hear me all well here? Because I'm going to ask for a couple things that you will need to discuss. Both for garbage and gatekeeper. The request is for the office to have Excel program, whether that requires an expense, I don't know. If it does, we need it. Examples are garbage. I asked for a financial report for the garbage last week from Julie, and her first report she sent me showed that we lost money in garbage, which was pretty much hard to believe. When I called her, she also agreed that we didn't lose money, and now I see on the treasurer report that money is back up where it should be. So I would like Excel so that we can keep track of that. And I would also like Excel for keeping track of the gatekeeper part of it as far as card sales, tag sales. We should have, I'll back up. I did an inventory with Anita. Our sales of tags and cards, the inventory is correct for the sales. So we have our sales of tags, which would include headlight and windshield. They should be showing $8,910 worth of sales there. The Prox cards is hard to determine what we've collected without a spreadsheet from Excel, because some people have paid $20 or donated $20. Some people didn't pay anything at all. As an example, if we would have sold all the cards for $20 a piece, we would be over $21,000 worth of sales. So if you want to cut that in half, over 10,000. If you want to cut it by down to a quarter, it'd be over 5,000. So we have no way of knowing what that is, totally dependent on Fieldstone, which I didn't even bother to ask. So can possibly answer that question right now, and I'll move on after you guys discuss that.
So you're asking that office purchase an Excel software?
Software or get the system back that was already there? Correct.
I have no idea either.
Okay, what's your, then ask you for, Steve, is for us to run two sets of books. One set of books in the office and Fieldstone running their set, and then you're using that as a comparative?
I feel that we need it, yes.
Well, I'm just trying to get an idea. We're getting the Excel as a backup, well, it wouldn't even be considered a backup system. This is a system you're going to use to monitor individual sales and as a way of checking if Fieldstone is being accurate.
Well, also, it would be, if we are going to do billing through the office, maybe it would be a program that would be available for that, so that when we switch over, if we're going to bill for landowners, dues, for instance,
Yeah, we're not gonna do that through an Excel program. That's going to come through the current.
And the 3R rec site already has that financial piece built into it.
Joy Star, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Joy Star,
Joy
yep.
Star has that, and can he use that in lieu of that?
Yeah, and the financials that the ladies keep track of in the office
yeah.
already has the gate, the RFID tags and stuff broke out at the bottom, so at any time they can go in and be able to say how much money. The question about the Prox cards, that was a volunteer. Nobody has to pay for those. We ask for donations, so you're never gonna get an accurate count. You can't, it's not a one-to-one comparison. So I think that's the other thing we have to kind of keep in consideration. The RFID, we should be able to say how many we've done, because that is what sets standard charge. So I just think there's a couple things there. Excel's not gonna solve that. We have Google Sheets. You can open things in Google Sheets. The office didn't understand how to do that. And I'm actually gonna go in and show Stacy after we're done here how to get the lines that she got on the landowners list.
Right.
How to open that in Google Sheets. So I'm not saying that the office doesn't maybe need a new computer as a whole. That's a different conversation, which would come with, it probably would come with a Microsoft Word.
Hey, Steve, what if we just provide you with the general ledger of the impacted accounts from Fieldstone, and then you can compare that to the work that the office does, just to make sure everything lines up?
Yes. Anything that would work, because when I asked the office if we have the ability to do what Michelle was just saying, I'm given the answer as no, we don't. So it's in limbo as far as being able to get ready information from the office. Now, whatever that problem is, I'm asking, can we get that fixed? Does that mean we need a new computer? Does that mean we need a program? Does that mean we just need training? That's what I'm getting at. And if the funds need, if it's a fund issue, since it's garbage that is needing, if it's okay to bring that out of the garbage fund, I'm more than willing to do that.
Well, I would have to say that it sounds like we need to get together with Michelle and Rob, and they can provide you with the information that you're looking for. I'm very reluctant to start down a path of just putting software in. Ryan and Michelle have worked really hard to get this thing to work, and Mary have worked really hard to get it done. So I think we need to work within the parameters that we've got, if for now, and if it doesn't solve your information needs, then we can address that, but let's see if we can't work within what we have as far as this question that you have going. Let's see if we can't work within what we have.
Totally agree. I've been asking for this for a while. And actually the girls must want something with the Excel, because Anita was willing to pay for it herself. And I told her no. So she says it's like a $60 program. So anyway, yeah, definitely have to have some discussion with the office girls and, you know what I want. So, there you go.
Okay? Well,
All
Dave
right.
has heard your, Dave will discuss it with the office staff.
Okay, so also for garbage, the garbage is a good deal. We all know it's a great deal. $5 per bag of garbage, I save a lot of money compared to what I used to spend in the city. It's a great deal for the fund. We're making money as long as our records are correct. But the cards, I back up here, the online pay. So we've all witnessed, anyone in the office, myself, even Dave, has witnessed someone going in, throwing the bag in and driving off, and we can't find any way where that person paid. I would like to change the online pay, the QR code option. Instead of having it pay for one bag at a time, have it so that the option is just to buy the card pack, 10 cards for $50. Actually, it's 11 cards for $50, and a one-time pay for that online, and eliminate this single bag option. Is that possible?
I think that just this is Rob, Steve. So like if we have guests at our cabin and they want to take one bag and pay for it on their own, they're not going to want to pay. That might be the first and only time they ever come to the cabin. So they're not going to want to pay for a multi-use, I guess. And I feel like we're going to have this issue regardless of cash or digital payment. There's always going to be people that drop off and maybe they pay, maybe they don't. We don't know. That's just the difficulty, I think. So that's just my opinion.
Your opinion would work great. The drawback is when you get to the garbage container to throw your bag in, you see the QR code and you do not have enough, zero Wi-Fi and not enough cell service to actually make a payment.
But that's not true. I mean, that's your provider and that happens everywhere on the plateau.
If you're willing to say, I don't have enough service right now, the moment I drive off, I'm not paying. You're not paying anyways. That's just the reality. I mean, like, you can make all the excuses in the world and not pay it, or you could just pay it, you know? But we can make an option to have the QR code also sell 10 cards, but to remove the QR code single pay, I really don't think that's gonna solve your problem. I think the problem is a lot bigger, and it's something that you gotta look a little bit further down the road where we get, you know, a camera or something set up with better quality just specifically for trying to capture people. And I know there's discussion on making the garbage only open during the week or something with a gate. You know, there's 20, 30 different options on the table that would get us to make people a little more honest. But boy, you know, if you're not gonna pay, you're just not gonna pay. You can put it on the website however you want to do it, but I just think that's just the reality. Until you start making those people who aren't gonna pay, or restricting them or fining them or however you want to do that, but till that day comes, I don't think it's gonna matter.
So how successful is that QR program? I didn't really know about it, but.
Really
I don't
hard to
see,
tell.
what's that?
I mean, okay, so we budgeted 25,500 in 2024 for garbage income. And we hit 24,280. So.
And that's all of the industry. That's not just the QR.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think we have enough data to say that the QR code is helping or hurting.
That's.
You know, and you know, one day on a Thursday, we can say that it's hurting us, and on a Sunday, it's helping us. I think it's a wash.
And we didn't implement it until September.
Correct.
The end of when everybody was up here, so.
But to be honest with you, with enough people with eyes on it more than before, there's just a bunch of people who roll up, throw it, and leave. Period. You know.
said, you're gonna pay, is not gonna pay. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious that get more people paying cash than you do with Q card. That was one
And
way.
nothing has been taken away. Cash is still there. QR code is an additional option.
Expanding.
I mean,
Cards.
the new cards, so when you offer new options, you get more people paying, but then you get more excuses for people not to pay. So it's, in my opinion, it's kind of a wash. But with more time to see the numbers, we don't have that, so. Yeah,
As I said before, I didn't expect this to be this big a conversation. As I said before, it's a good deal at $5. It's a good deal at the Fun Builder because it is building. So I'm well aware of everything you guys mentioned, and I did not want to go with security, cameras, that kind of thing. I mean, I took down the you're gonna get fined $250 if you don't pay for a bag of garbage. I took that down. I don't want to put it back up. It's just not a friendly thing to see right at the gate. So I know exactly what you guys are all talking about. So I understand your opinions because mine are right there at the same time. So I just wanted to know if we could change that one thing on the QR. But if you don't want to do it, that's okay too.
Hey,
So
can
we'll
I
move on.
Can I just make a quick comment? Because we spend an awful lot of time talking about garbage, right? $25,000 divided by 700 is 36 bucks a head. Why don't we just roll it into our ask for the future budget and not charge for garbage? And I mean, we spend so much time talking about this thing and trying to catch the bad guys and whatever. It's 40 bucks a head. Roll it into the budget. Let's add it to the annual meeting and end the madness.
Well, there's always that. The Penny's site was to have recycling brought back, and that's why the budget was made, or the account was made so that we could save up enough money to bring in a recycling center. I can tell you right now that my opinion on bringing in the recycling, that's going to be another policing issue because we can't even keep crap out of the garbage can now that you're supposed to pay for. So, and again, we still make money. It's okay. I get it. But anyway, yes, down the road, I know Bill's probably tired of talking about this. I am. So I'll move on unless you've got more comments to make.
We have a
That
copy.
was my comment. Because when this whole thing started to do that, recycling.
Right. Yeah,
Bill was that.
that was the point.
And then
Okay.
there was a comment online, just a comment.
Yeah.
Just saying, could you restrict access to the dumpster by requiring payment for a temporary access card? Paid for to enter a gate to dump garbage, which expires when used. I think that's one of the things you guys.
Yeah, and the other thing, Steve, I'll send you an email. I had a conversation with Jim Forquet from LCF&R. They are very interested in allowing us expansion at the gate in the current location for our garbage and recycling site. So I want to get that back to you. We need to get back, and Penny had already designed, had all of the stuff ready to go to make that happen, to look at it. I think we need to dig that out, revisit now that we have somebody who wants to work with us from LCF&R, so
Very cool.
yeah, that'll be some, I'll get you that information first of the week, okay?
Okay, Bill, thank you. I have seen that plan that Penny had. Yeah, it's quite a facility. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, I will move on to the next thing. Gate. So we have a 1-day vendor pass and a 1-day guest pass that I've actually changed to 3 days. Why did I change that? It was because 1 day a vendor can't get anything done in 1 day. I experienced a little vendor issue with my own property, and it's multiple times of returning and not coming in on the same day that they say they're going to come in. So what guests are doing, or what landowners are doing for that is they're just making a permanent pass for a big project, or they're making a 30-day pass. So I would like to make a reasonable vendor pass for building. You got a big project on your property and you got contractors coming in. A building's not going to be done in a day. It's not going to be done in a week. I was thinking of a 90-day vendor pass. What's your thoughts?
What's the cost to the vendor for that?
Just a tab.
So vendors, I've changed my idea of vendors charging for vendors. It's with research, it's hard to get vendors in here. And if they have to pay to get in here, they're going to raise their prices or they're just not going to come in. The other thing is a vendor that actually wants to work here, they want to get in and be done. They don't want to sit at the gate. They don't want to have trouble. They don't want to go back into town because they couldn't get in here. So they need a pass ability. So when I made vendor passes with Ryan that were a permanent pass, it's a code, a 6-digit code. We did it in a hurry. We put a lot of them out there because there's a lot of construction going on. It slowed down, of course, for winter right now. But I want to bring those back because they get passed around to other vendors that are coming in through the job, and those get passed around to employees. So I think annually they ought to at least be renewed as far as you eliminate the old one and you make a new one. But I'd like to put it so that it's easier for the landowner to give out a vendor pass for 90 days and then it goes away. It disappears, and there's, if there's copies made of it or they're handed out to 10 different people, 90 days they're gone. And we don't have that liability or the safety issue with so many people coming in that don't belong here. So I'm not going for charging a vendor to come and do services for us. There are vendors that I don't agree with that charge to get here. So personally, I'm not using one that's going to charge me $120 just to drive to my property that takes no longer to get to me than it does to go to Bend or Lapine. So that's just my thoughts. So now go ahead.
I think
I think we've already voted at one point on what the passes will look like. I don't have that in front of me. So what it was is what we voted on. 30 days, it's a bit long. Do you have, I could go two. So if you open Prop Tia,
Right.
yeah, so go to make a pass. I don't know if you have to get into your user side, not admin side, but yeah, go in like you're gonna make a pass.
Just look me up. Look me up for yourself. There you go.
So add visitors. I'm used to the app more than the website. Okay, so these are your options right here. Temporary visitor, permanent visitor, restricted person. And I think, so it's gonna be individual, maybe under, see what that gives you. 'Cause we're not really entertaining events too
Go to
much.
guest.
There's so your guest vendor, so he's talking vendor specifically. So now you get one-time vendor pass. That right there means when they come in once, the pass it's done. It will not work again. That's a one-time. I could be slightly wrong and maybe it goes for one day, but I'm pretty certain it's a one-time only.
That's a 3 day.
It's 3 days now. I changed
It's-
it on my own. You can fire me if you don't like it. I made it 3 days. So, but
3 days, I'm okay. I mean, me personally, 3 days is fine. 30 days, I do not. That's for a vendor. I get that you have certain vendors coming in and out for like, I gotta pour concrete, so I need to come in and out a couple times. This is where the discussion would be on what we change it to, because we initially voted that, you know, the vendor gets this, and then the landowner can select what they want. They're responsible for their guests, and that's at the end of the day what we're gonna lean on. So if you put vendor 30, vendor 1, the landowner could put permanent, whatever, give it to them. So
Brian, so this, I'm glad this came up because I was gonna ask about it. So I have a project coming up here, a big one. Yeah, I've done several of them here. And I think Steve's on the right ticket there. You know, I mean, you can cut a vendor off if you got a problem, but I never had any problems. And it's tough enough just to get one vendor in for 3 days, you know, on my phone and stuff like that, let alone, you know, a bunch of them. So I would be for 30 or 60 days, or, I mean, even 30 would be better than 3, see what I'm saying?
that's why I'm saying 7.
Who's talking? Actually, who had that example?
Kevin Fitzpatrick.
Oh, Kevin, hey, how are you? Okay, Kevin, please explain to them some more, because I deal with vendors daily, and the requests that I get are that this sucks. This one day sucks. They use the 30. Then I get, this sucks. My project's taken all summer. This sucks. Have I repeated that enough? So I came up with 90 days. So Kevin, I'm gonna let you tell them what you recommend for a vendor
Before you
pass
say
for landowner.
we also need to identify the difference between Kevin and his company, who basically live here, in here, as far as working goes, and then someone who needs their washer machine brought in by Lowe's. So if you give 30 days to Lowe's, I'm gonna use that as an example, that doesn't relate to Kevin and his crew. That's two separate styles of contractor vending.
I'm not saying that we get rid of the one-time pass. I'm saying we add a pass. And the vendors that are out there right now, there's over 20 contractors. I plan on eliminating a lot of those, because if I can't find them in the phone book, they're not, to me, they're not a company that I can get a hold of and take care of a problem, whether it's a gate problem or an employee problem. So I plan on eliminating a lot of contractor passes.
So, Steve, so, and you guys, one question you might think about is, say I apply for 90-day passes for my contractors, okay? And then I have, you know, I can do that where I think what you're saying is correct, because I had one last week where it was 1 day, right? Well, it ended up being 3 days, right? Well, the guy never showed up on the day I wanted, so it's a good thing I got the 3 day, right? I had to go back. So maybe the contractor or the homeowner can apply for, hey, I need 90-day passes for my guys for 6 months, like you're saying. If you have a drop down there, I don't know, that's just a suggestion.
That's a good point, because we've had the same conversation with the fire department, saying we're not gonna give them some giant, you know, everyone can get in under this pass number or something of that nature. So it's the responsibility of the contractor to set something up, and that's, again, this is where the road splits on a vendor who is in here all the time, established and known, and you set that up, versus a landowner who needs just the washing machine in. So when you select vendor here and go to you have it for 7 days, we can, you know, 3 days sounds reasonable, but then you have to identify someone like Kevin to get a larger number of people for a larger project type of vendor. I don't want to put the option here for a landowner to put a 30-day, 90-day, 180-day pass for a vendor. It just defeats the whole purpose of the guest and, you know, vendor options even in here.
Well, the security.
Okay. Okay, I have an option that will solve that for you. So you can decide on this. It will put some weight on the office. And that is, a pass can be made that is not available for the landowners. It's only available through the management side. So the office could get a call from Kevin, and Kevin would say, hey, I need a pass that is gonna be as much as he wants. You know, if it's Kevin, he's a contractor that lives here. It can be made. A vendor pass could be made for a year long. It's still dated, starting date, ending date, but it's only available through the office. And it can be sent directly to Kevin from the office. Kevin doesn't have to come in to get it. Kevin gets it just like the app would send a guest pass to a guest.
I like,
So. I set my contractors up on individual passes, okay, because I'm very particular on who I want in here, and then, I don't want their guys in here, but. Would that be, Steve, would that be like each contractor? So let's just say contractor A, B, and C. And like A might be here for 3 months, B might be here for a month, so are you saying one pass for the whole job? That's.
It could be as many as you need, but again, it puts the weight on the office. But also, I can do it too. So I could take that weight off of there. A lot of weight off the office if you wanted to call directly to me. But there's very few of those contractors that I'm going to talk to like I would talk to you, Kevin. You know, there's going to be Mr. Smith is going to have contractor ABC who nobody knows, and he wants to give a 90-day pass to. So think about that before you all make a decision.
Sure like to see an
you're
approved
the,
architectural package submitted to the office before the office starts flinging out 90-day passes.
Well, that architectural and passes and, monies and that kind of stuff could all be packaged through the architectural. But how many architectural permits of, I guess, what do you call it? Packet? Somebody applies for a architectural packet? Is
Well,
that what they do, Tom?
we typically, it's been about 10 to 15 a year that we've actually received, but I think there's been a whole lot more activity, behind the gate than what we receive for architectural packages.
Yeah, I obviously know that because you haven't had a report yet. I see all kinds of vendors, contractors coming in. So, but I didn't know what you want to do with it.
So, Ryan, remember about 2 or 3 months ago, you were gonna have a meeting on this stuff? And did that ever happen? Because I actually put my name in on the internet, on the website to be included in that meeting. Did that ever happen? You guys were gonna have a learning session somewhere?
I'm gonna say no, just because that conversation has eluded me at this point, but,
Okay, that's fine, but I'm just saying, I think this thing's going, I think maybe you should have somewhere to talk about all
Yep.
this,
Architecture.
we could go, yeah.
yeah. I do want to point out one thing. You're probably the perfect person to ask this to, because you're both a landowner and a contractor that works in here heavily. So what Steve says, right, we could set up a contractor with whatever they want and desire, but that's not gonna happen because the contractor's gonna go, well, just get me unlimited, all the things. For you as a landowner, what would you feel comfortable with as far as giving a contractor option to you? 30-day single code, and then you give it to your guys to get in and out of here, and it'll delete in 30 days, because that could be set up. 60 days, 90 days. I wouldn't go past 90 if it was me. And honestly, I would say 30. It's, the shorter the time, the more you're gonna have to do. But the longer the time, the more secure it is. So that's your balance.
They're gonna go fishing off the dock.
Yeah, because if you do 90 days, well, that's most of the summer. And once someone realizes, hey, this thing works, it'll work until it doesn't.
Yeah, it depends on the contract, I mean.
Correct.
I'm probably an anomaly because I've known 20-some years, and I've had theft and stuff like that, so. I think Steve's got it, I think he do 30, 60 days, but it should be up to the contractor, but are they diligent? I don't know, so. 30 is better than 90, or 30 is good, 90 would be great, but.
Let's start. There's gonna be two here. So, Steve kind of already moved it, but we can say, Go back to the Proptia page.
Brian, can't the 30s be renewed?
Anything can be renewed, yeah. But I'm gonna identify the two sides of this, because one side, this will be landowner only, and one side will be Steve Gate office only. Okay, so, vendor type, or sorry, visitor type vendor. So I make a motion to change visitor type vendor to 3-day access, through Proptia. Interchangeable by landowner only.
Wanna run that?
State
one more
that, state
time?
that again.
Oh, I don't even know if I can.
But I think he's correct, landowners should take care of it, a lot of them don't. Nowhere.
It's their responsibility. Yeah, the longer you make that window and the easier it is on the landowner, they're going to exploit it. So 7 days for Lowe's to come in here and drop off a washing machine is just a little bit long.
So we're changing the vendor access to,
Your motion is to change that.
Yeah, so make a motion to change vendor access through Proptia to a 3-day landowner interchangeable option. Is that better?
Okay, so hey, scroll down for me so I can get back, so you can show me on the screen the other way. Okay, so just so I can explain. So when you're making a pass, whether it's from the app on your phone or right here on your computer through the website, you have to pick individual, which you see at the top, the temporary visitor is highlighted. Then you have to put individual, then you pick vendor or guest, and then you have the option, if you open the option for one-time vendor pass, you see that it's the only one there. Okay, that vendor pass is for 3 days. It's not for one. I already changed it. If I change the name, the title, one-time vendor pass to 3-time vendor pass or 3-day vendor pass, that makes a whole new pass. So this is just a modification that I've done. It's instead of 1 day, it's good for 3 days. Kevin's already made out a couple, so I've been watching it. Right, Kevin?
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need two, a 1 day and a 3-day? Is that
no,
what we're saying?
So no, you don't need to do anything. You just have to say, Steve, you're okay, leave it there, or Steve, nope, I want you to change it back.
there's a motion on the floor then.
Well, it was originally 1 day, right?
Yep.
So that means we have to,
Yeah, but he changed it, so that's what we're saying.
yeah, he changed it without, because we've already approved the 1 day. So if we're gonna change it to 7 or 3, then that's the motion. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The wording was a little too much because I'm just putting details in the word.
So then the motion's on the floor to update Proptia to show a vendor pass as 3 days. As the motion that he has, do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Anybody?
Okay. Now, discussion,
Can I discuss?
you can make a comment.
Well, that's discussion.
No.
So the 3-day thing has worked good, and I think that's great what he did, but like I said, I got a project coming up.
No, I'm not done. I'm not done. Hold on. Let's get this vote through.
Yeah, so there's a comment on the chat that is, can you make a one-time entry, not date specific, for delivery of the washing machine, which expires upon its use? I don't think. it's-
You can make the window in a time frame and
I think
select.
he's saying, once you use the code, then it expires, and I don't think.
Yeah, it's the whole point of one time. So yeah, because you want Lowe's to come in and leave and then be done.
Yep.
The question is without a date.
Without a date.
Without it,
Yeah, that, and then the system's not capable.
you can change the date. So if it's in
No,
a,
no, no, no. That's
without,
not the question. The question is, can we just give them a code, they use it and it expires regardless of what date? So no, the answer is no. The property is based on dates. You have to set a date in there. You can't just get a code without a date.
yes, you have to have the date, but the date is changeable. Yes. So if you need to put it out in the future for 3 days, you can put it out in the future for 3 days. If you need it today for 3 days, you get it today for 3 days.
You can
That's
make a,
Date specific.
let me help explain that. You can make a 3-day pass, a 2-day pass. It's just the maximum days is 3 days. You can make it a 1 day
Oh,
pass.
shoot.
We got,
You
yeah,
can-
we got this.
You,
Steve,
yeah,
okay.
you have the calendar, you can change.
Okay, okay, gotta move on, gotta move on here, let's go, we got a motion on the floor, it's been seconded. With the specific discussion, comment that you made
I got it now.
was, what we're trying to do is change this
I
particular,
got it.
yeah, moving out to a longer time period, that's coming.
Different.
Yeah, that's gonna come up.
Mary was whispering it on here.
Yeah. Well, okay. Dang it, Barry. All right, so we have the motion on the floor. It's been seconded that we're approving Steve's change to Proptia to a 3-day pass. Paul?
Rob,
No.
Brian,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Tom,
No,
I'm a yes.
Passes 3-2. Okay.
Second part of this equation, this is where Steve's gonna have to get involved and the office possibly, and I don't think we're gonna have a vote here, but this is where you as a vendor can get set up with Steve on the back end. And being you are vested, then we could say, hey, this is who's coming in. He has 2-month project. He has 30 to 60 people. How that is dealt with the gatekeeper can be determined in the future, but that's the segregation. To be clear, that part we just did was, again, Lowe's bringing in a washing machine. You're not Lowe's bringing in a washing machine. You're pouring concrete and building a house. You have concrete people, you have finishers, you have lumber, you have whoever else. So that's 2 totally different topics that we've satisfied one. Steve, you're gonna have to run with the other side.
Can we?
So I'll try and make this quick. So just a quick explanation. As you saw that on all of the landowners guest pass situation, you have limited options. You can see that you have a permanent, and what shows up as a permanent is a 180 days, 6 month pass. Okay, what you saw as a temporary is a vendor for is it 3 days now or 1? Didn't hear the last. Okay, so now we have a vendor pass that can be extended to 3 days or shortened to 1 day by the landowner. We have a 30-day guest pass, and that's the only options we have. Okay, the office has the ability to look at all passes that have ever been made and pick them and pick one. So Kevin, for instance, being a contractor, he can call the office or me. The landowner, Mr. Smith, he can call the office, because I'm not going to answer the phone because Mr. Smith isn't in my phone, but I'm going to answer it for Kevin. You see what I'm saying? So the office, Mr. Smith would call the office and say, hey, I've got a building that's going to take pretty much all summer. Can I get a pass or multiple passes for this long each? And only the office would have access to build that. And it's not a building, I build it, and then they can just pick it depending on what the landowner or Kevin might want.
Okay,
So
Steve.
the motion, go ahead.
Steve, hold on, I gotta cut you short, I'm 73 years old, I can't go much longer. Look, we understand what you're trying to do, I appreciate what you've got going on. What I would like to see, and I think what we should do right now is you are describing a format which is doable. You have got it all down. Print that format out, send it to us. We can agree to that and you can make your changes to that, because that could be something that can be done on an internet vote. I think you can get a unanimous vote for that. Let's try to do that, because right now we're not going to be able to come up with a final vote, because I think the solution has too much complication on it. I think let's take a look at it. You write it down, get it to us, and then we'll go from there. If you can do that, please.
You bet, because I still have my report on the gate.
Yeah, okay, so let's go from that. Let's get your report on the gate, so, because we've got a lot of other things we gotta discuss.
Okay, The report for the gate actually isn't the gate, it's Proptia 2.0. Proptia 2.0 is coming out could be as soon as 60 days, could be as soon as 6 months from now. I just talked to Kevin, our rep at Proptia, and that's the timeline I got. There is no simple changeover for this. It's not like an app on your phone. You go, okay, update that, and 5 minutes later, your app has been updated from 1.0 to 2.0. This is a whole new app. Our old app will have to be deleted from our phones, and we will have to download the new 2.0 app. The website, this is Proptia, yes. Okay, so the website, which you just saw an example of, that won't have to be deleted, but it is getting major changes that takes them more than, just a short period of time is what I'm getting at. Those changes haven't been told to me, and I've asked a couple different times of what they're going to look like, what it's going to do. They assure me that it's not going to cause any problems, even though I'm telling them that they've already caused problems just building it, because every time they add a little feature, something doesn't work, and I have to call them to tell them, hey, all the prox cards that we just handed out on week such and such don't work. Why? Well, that was the week we were looking into your system. So you're getting my drift here. So what I suggest, and talking to Kevin from Proptia, is that everybody's information is going to have to be Nat's ass perfect. So all landowners need to go to the web version, just like you saw on the screen, and make sure all of your information is correct and that there isn't anything missing, like an email, like a license plate for your vehicle. Put everything in, needs to be looked at. The email is important, the phone number is important, the vehicle with a license plate is important. So that somehow has to get out to everybody that 2.0 is coming, and you need to make sure all of your information is correct on your Proptia system. So
Sounds like the perfect newsletter edition.
Yep. Okay.
okay, so the other thing besides that is the passes that are out right now. I've noticed some have disappeared and they need to be remade. So it's a simple thing. Look on your phone. If you got a pass that just disappeared from your phone, you need to make a new one. It's that simple. And that's because of this new build. So yes, another thing to email out.
Okay.
Any questions?
Nope, I think we're good.
All righty, move on.
Thank you. I didn't see Bob. He didn't sneak in on us, so there isn't, other than we're waiting for the budget for the roads committee. So can I get a motion to approve the committee reports?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
A second.
Brian, any discussion? Roll.
Rob,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so we're moving on to, oh, and I lost Michelle. She's snacking. Sorry. Spacebar. We have an annual meeting timeline. The annual meeting is approaching at rocket speed. So we have, did Stacy give you the updated stuff to put up?
It's the date, but she's listening. I bet she's gonna give it to me here in just a second.
Okay, yeah, there would be there's a timeline that we have. Basically, what we need to talk about right at this point is ballot measures, which is going to be the most time consuming. The only two that we have that we've gotten information on is an increase in assessments and a ballot measure to charge for guest passes.
You want the,
I timeline first so that they can see what that is. So let's address the ballot measure to raise assessments. I put out a general purpose one that picked an amount. You all got it.
That's what they're trying to,
So
there we go.
there's the text. So right now, we're gonna have to have a meeting around the 12th to get the packet approved. The annual meeting is on the 19th. So right now,
Wednesday, the 19th.
we've got to get,
Wednesday, the 19th.
Mountains are, that is an early day. I don't think that,
It says 22.
maybe we didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
all.
definitely a Wednesday.
Down below it says March 19th.
This is taken from the last template, so. Do we have a date for the annual meeting?
yeah, it's the third Sunday of March. I thought it was the 19th.
16.
16? 16.
Yeah, you're close. What's happening at the Elks Lodge on a Wednesday?
Yeah.
March 19th was a Sunday in 2022.
There
That
you
part,
go.
right?
So that, we have March 16th, so we have even less time. So we need to go. I don't think you have a copy of the proposed.
I do.
Oh, okay,
This one?
no, that's going to be the annual pack, so that's, hang on to that one for just a second. We need to have discussion on ballot measures, which are going to go out to membership, and the most important one right now is raising the assessments. There really isn't anything,
Assessments or dues?
dues are not applicable. Assessments is the word that you have to use, that's what it's supposed to be.
Oh, I thought those were time frames, temporary, like when we had a road assessment. It was a 5-year.
It's a dues assessment.
It's still
It's
that,
an assessment.
but we have to title it as assessment. So the annual assessment is the amount. So right now, I think I proposed 550. Up from the 350. We do not have a roads assessment anymore. We still have the marina fund. So directors, what do we want to put in our assessment ballot measure? We'll leave it the same at 350.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not tracking.
Well, we have a ballot measure that's going to go out and be voted on. All it needs is a majority of the people. It does not, of the landowners, it does not have to have a 75% positive response. So the only question that comes from the ballot measure, and we do not have to have a ballot measure. If we want to leave it the same as it is, we can do that. Other than that, if we're raising the assessment, then it has to go, we have to choose what that dollar amount would be.
I think it's advantageous to clearly specify where we are right now, which is what 350. And then you add, am I correct, the 50?
No, 350 is the assessment.
I understand, but the total bill that we are currently required to pay annually and then broken down, so we're all understanding what the number is. Evenly.
Right now, it's $400.
It's 400, it's 350 plus the 50 that goes to the marina. Okay, that's where we are right this second, just so everyone is tracking.
And that leaves us at a net operating income of $7,000.
And we have to have an option to say keep it, right? Do we have to, like, whenever you make the options on voting, is one line item have to say remain 350?
No, it's,
Or is there like a no vote?
If it's no, it's either yes to increase it to what
If it fails,
we
it stays.
ask for, or no,
Or
and
no.
it stays
Okay.
at 350.
All right, so 350, okay. 50 will always be there until we go away from that. Okay. I know I made a proposition and there'll have to be corrections probably, but my idea was to be at a total bill of $850. So you're looking at 800 for assessment and 50 for marina until otherwise. And this was my stipulation. I don't know how it can be presented or even done. 250 of that goes into a road fund directly. Or, correction, I didn't say that. What I did say was percentage. I want to say I said 30%. So that's not a number. And if the dues ever go up, this is so you don't have to vote again. My mindset was that you don't have to vote again on how much goes into a road fund. It would remain 30%. So if there's a secondary increase or decrease for that matter of dues, 30% of total would go into roads. That was my proposition, and I don't know, this is my first rodeo here, so.
Well, roads is going to be the biggest cost of everything that we do. We know that going in.
Correct. 30% was the number I went with. It kind of came up to 250 number, 30% of 800, somewhere around there. Not dead on. I don't want to be like a 28.47. That's weird. So just that's where the 30% came from. And part of my mindset is people are going to be more willing to vote without having things all over the place, as in like previously we had to have special assessments for roads. Like we're trying to avoid that in the future. We're trying to increase to a number that works. Money goes to the roads. We're going to have to improve roads in the future. We're not having a secondary bill. Now you're paying twice throughout the year. That stuff is muddy. That's where I'm trying to go with this.
Okay, well, on the backside of that, there was last year, we had a strong push for a fund, a reserve fund, and that aspect of it to take care of the items. With the advent of what volunteer fundraising is doing, that reserve fund is not as critical because the assets that we're dealing with, they're the ones who are working to make it better and provide improvements. But we do still have to have a reserve fund for emergencies and that. And the other thing is roads, and roads still gets used every year. So that portion of it can happen. I will take a step back, and Meg, you had offered to champion the dues in selling it to the membership. Market, there you go, that's exactly the word I'm looking. What do you see? Where do you see your biggest stumbling blocks in marketing an increase in assessments to the membership?
Probably the people who are owners up here who rarely come up here and don't have any idea of what it costs, or that costs have gone up. The thing that I would probably target is, we haven't had a dues increase in how many years? 20. I mean, forget the road assessments, but we haven't had a dues increase. And I understand you're saying the word assessment, but what have prices done in 20 years? And we're not keeping up with that. I don't necessarily agree with Ryan about not having the road separate, because that was an easy one to sell because it was separate from our annual dues. But the dues increase, I think people just have to understand, what were you paying for bread 20 years ago?
Okay,
50 cents a loaf.
do you think it would be important to those people to know that a portion of the increase goes to roads?
Yeah, you'd really want to specify that.
Directly, yeah.
And the cost of roads, I mean, there's no way we can do what the county can do because we don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
But the people who are on fixed incomes, older property owners, and the people who don't come up here often are going to be the tough sell. I think all of us, I don't have a problem at all with the dues increase.
All right, then let me ask this, just use in general, what would you feel comfortable with if we raised it to $1,000 a year, or do we raise it to $600 or $700 a year?
I think even the 700 or 800 is gonna be a tough sell. Now, I'm just gonna get a listing over at Eagle Crest. A townhome attached to 3 other houses, $450 a month.
No.
A month. Guess what Sun River is?
I didn't know it was that.
Now, they're $1,000 a month, but they're still paying for their swimming pool, the shark tank.
We don't have any of that.
So,
Yeah, we have significantly more roads,
yeah,
you know, that's not attached to county roads where they, you know.
see, I bet a lot of our property owners don't understand that we get nothing from the county for our roads. They're all on our shoulders.
Okay, but that's going to be marketing 101 for you to help. We need to come up with a number that's justifiable.
A number that's justifiable and then a theme.
Right.
Something that's easy to talk to people about and it's important when we passed the first road assessment, long time ago. A bunch of us got together and we sat around a table and said, okay, what's the good stuff and what's the bad stuff? And then we all decided what was best and what was the worst. And then we all said the same thing, which kind of speaks to what you said earlier about rumors getting around. And if we're all saying the same thing, the why are we doing this? And how's it gonna help everybody? Who, what, where, and why, how? Then I think we have a chance, but we gotta all be going down the same path for the same reason.
Okay, so if we have, let's say we have the 350 and we had the 250 that we had on roads, we're at 600.
So that's 650.
And then 650 is a jump, or Brian goes up to the 800. Is that risky to do that? Because from my point of view, and I don't mean to be greedy, this has got to pass. I mean, I got to go into this with an 80% chance of it passing, or we've already gone through a year.
Okay, so can Michelle send out, a query?
We don't have that much time.
Yeah, but that's easy.
She can do that in an instant if it's possible.
Well, I mean, so one of my questions, Meg, as I was listening to you talk, do we break down the budget? And I'm not talking details down to, you know, yes, we see it every single time, but when you were asking for an increase, just sitting in the room last year, hearing people say, if you would have broke it down so we truly understood it, not just this bulk, here's 700, we need $750 because we said so. They want to know 300 is going to go to roads and 400 is going to go to this and that, this is what that includes, and not numbers, not, that's going to go into account number 41414.
Pie chart, like.
They Fieldstone, they didn't want Fieldstone either.
That was
and that was
the biggest
never-
one.
That was never explained.
And that's what I'm trying to get to, like, if we're asking for this big increase, can we do a really good visual? This is what that breaks down.
Pictures of the roads, put a couple of pictures of the crappy roads.
I mean, you could do a lot of different ways, but kind of a promotion marketing.
I don't think there's a mystery on the road quality as far as anything.
No, but
Main.
so, okay, but we all, part of that in there is we want to take away the Fieldstone costs.
Correct.
So there's going to be an increase in business management.
But I think we have to say that just like that.
Okay,
I mean, last year, you all wanted us, you voted to go away from Fieldstone. We can't do that for free. That's gonna
right,
require an increase, and here's what that increase is for. We don't have to be like, that's for $700 for an office manager, that's for 45. We're just saying.
Increased operating costs.
Increased operating costs because
Within-
of it,
Yeah.
to cover that. You can get a breakdown. We can give you a breakdown.
well, yeah, we can do a pie chart that'll come up with.
Yeah.
That's
Just something
So
like.
to facilitate, away from Fieldstone, this is how much we would need. Because we still have to have a professional third party out there doing our books. We can't. Like, we still need to have that professional. Yeah.
And then you guys are talking about a this or that. Can it not be a this or this or this?
Multiple choice.
Yeah.
But if you break it
That's
up,
a terrible ballot.
the concern is you don't get enough votes
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
one of the three.
But like yesterday was, or last year that it was, if you would have taken out Fieldstone from the budget, people would have passed that budget. But because Fieldstone was in there, they weren't willing to pass.
I understand that, but that's part of what we're stuck with. Jeff, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'm still to the point to where you do this or that. This one is $650, this one's $800. And you win whichever way. You don't lose as far as getting that increase.
Yeah, but if you do this or that, is
about-
is the total together, okay, we gotta go with one, or is it, oh shit, we split them up and now we don't have votes for
It
either?
also, sorry, guys, it also sounds like if we give people options that we don't know what we're doing, right? Like if we have option A, option B, then why do you have two options? Like, we just need to say, everything's gone up. An increase of operating costs, it needs to be this much. And just keep it simple and clean. Because if you have an option, then they're like, well, why wouldn't I just take the littler option? Why do I need a bigger option?
I think we ran it through legal and we were advised against even being able to do that. But I'm gonna circle back around real quick and say, can we throw $50 in for the garbage so we can eliminate the the bag?
Yeah, that's good enough, sure.
Comment. We
Yeah.
had to find an ascending.
That's something you could sell. I mean,
Next 3 years, you get people that, kind of
Oh.
breaks the ice a little bit and.
I suggested that last year.
You're
Yeah, I did see that
getting
somewhere, yeah.
$1,000 or 75,000 each year. I don't know, if they're short $7,000. I know that's just an option and that's something you might look at, that's,
It's a good option, I think.
It is, okay, it is an option. But, and I don't want to be devil's advocate here for a short time. You're giving them something that they can vote no against. In other words, somebody looks down the road and says, well, in 3 years, we're gonna have to pay $1,000, I don't want that. Okay, and they're gonna vote no, and so we lose that yes vote, whereas if we're at 650 or 700, okay, yes. And we can say, well, we will raise it down the road, and we can always, the ballot measure can be changed at the annual meeting. We don't even have to mail it out, we can do it at the annual meeting.
according to Ryan, that's 650, that's 250 for roads, you're not bringing your.
No, we're not raising it.
budget.
No, we're right back where we started, yeah.
Yeah, we're at a push.
You're right.
So that's where the $800 is the more viable number. But yes, I like your idea of being able to say in 2 years it will be this. But now they're voting on a process. It being secretary for these years and counting those damn ballots, the people who vote no, I'll guarantee you, they won't be a property owner in 2 years.
Mhm.
They'll move on down the line and they don't care. All of them. The only people that we really do are the people that care, that live here or that have property here for a long time. We get a lot of people who just vote no, and they, just like Nick said, they don't ever come up here.
So
They
I
may
think,
come up once, so we gotta find something attractive to those people and give Meg the opportunity. to
Invest
walk.
in your future.
Well, then do your 750, there's your $100.
Heck, well, I'll split the difference, $7.99. Hey, everything for sale in this world.
Oh, Mary's up.
But we're all saying that last year, the comment was if Fieldstone wasn't in there, they would have passed the 750. So let's go for the 750.
Mhm.
I mean, if we feel confident that that was true, and that's what I can't do.
750 includes the 50 for the marina?
No.
So we go back with the 750, I mean, that gives us some roads, it gives us a little bit of extra. And we have some confidence that at least last year, everybody was willing to go.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly where I was,
I think
850,
that's
50
a
roads or 50 marina.
thanks, Mary, that puts a perspective, because we have the increase in office, we want security to be better, we do obviously have roads, and we have the other stuff that we want to do. So, yes, that gives us something, and I think that's a sell, I know, Meg, is that a sellable?
Answer no till you ask.
Okay,
There's there's a comment, and then there's, Steve has his hand raised.
Oh.
So Randy Geisler commented, really high increases regardless of justification are gonna be a hard sell. Inflation adjustment and modest increases to cover obvious expected expenses is more likely to be accepted, and itemized clear explanation would be necessary no matter what, but especially in the case of a very large increase of annual dues. And then I don't know if you want Steve to go or Rob. if you go.
I think that in my mind, the campaign should be what a no vote means, what a yes vote means.
Mhm.
And then you just lay out, a no vote means that the
The roads look
potholes
like crap.
cannot be
Yeah.
repaired, like this is what we lose.
We're gonna
And a yes vote means this.
And a no vote means we stay with Fieldstone
Yeah.
longer.
Oh, that's a good one.
And as we've seen the past 6 months, how many emails have we received that were like, oh, sorry? Apologies.
Steve, you have your hand raised.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to give you a reminder of history. And Michelle, you're absolutely right. It would have passed if the Fieldstone thing, management thing wouldn't have happened. So, I think everybody's okay with $800. Kevin didn't get the roads passed until he made it a separate assessment, $250. He asked for $150 more than was ever asked before and got it because it was a special assessment for the roads. So I suggest you do that again so that everybody can see that I'm putting this money in and it's going to the roads. It's not going into the general fund. The office needs money. The general fund needs money. So $100 for each. $50 is actually just under $40. Everybody paid $50 more, it's just under $40,000. So do you need $40,000 for general fund or do you need $80,000 for general fund? Do we need 40,000 extra for roads than what we charged before, or do we need 80? Well, the roads cost a lot more, and that's why not as much got done. Kevin's original estimate for everything, prices were way down. Come along, increases, and we didn't get as much for our money that we had gone for a 5-year plan. So,
Hey, Steve, the
yes,
other reason that the road assessment passed is it was due halfway in between our regular dues. That was the other reason. People didn't have to pay it all at one time. They paid their dues and then they paid the assessment 2 different times. We've also talked about doing payments on a monthly basis instead of a yearly basis, and I think that's a big plus
And we can do that now.
to market.
So you
Even
know,
quarterly.
one of those is I had a plan. I had
Yeah.
a 5-year plan and I adjusted it every year.
Yep.
And they knew everything that we did and I subbed out, instead of giving somebody the job, I subbed the whole thing out for all the shoulders. So it was the budget every year, but I had a plan and we
Yep.
kept the plan to a T. And I made sure that every property owner in this place got a new piece of gravel or pavement or something. And I think that happened.
Is mine
in the mail?
Well, you drive on, I don't want to argue about this.
Okay, and Steve, I understand what you're trying to say. But, and I understand the importance for specifics. But right now, everything we need needs money. We're operating in a spot where we can't continue to do what we do with what we're getting at the 350. So when we raise it to say, well, we'll raise it $50 here to cover the office or there, we've got to raise it to an amount that'll get us down the road 2 to 3 years. And unfortunately, we can't say that right now. For example, there may be like a legal fund thing that has to come up and we have to address that. So we don't know what we're going to do. We just need to get the money. We need to come up with an amount we can sell and have a good chance of passing. If the 750 is the mark that we feel comfortable with, then we can do that as the ballot measure and we can come up with a reasoning for it. So.
How much is
Well-
$850 a month?
$850 a month?
Yeah, somewhere in the ballpark.
$71.
850 divided, whoa, 50 divided by
Oh,
12.
$70 a month.
$71 if you round up.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even feel it. It's like one of your recurring fees, like
Well, that's why
Netflix and
I wanted to
Hulu.
go with $100 a month, but, $1,200 a year, because $100 a month isn't a deal, but that's gonna be,
I like it. I was
Well,
just being
we did-
modest on. I honestly don't think 850 is actually enough, but that's, again, we're trying to get it passed.
we gotta get it passed, that's.
Well,
What I was, so you didn't let me finish and with
Sorry.
Bill's comment, I was going to recommend $100 for each. So 350 go up to 450 for the general fund, 250 go up to 350 for the general fund. That's $800. That would have passed. You're gonna have a shit show of the marina anyway for the $50. So, and you know what I'm talking about. It's for sale. So you're gonna have a lot of time spent on that. So $800. I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem with that. As long as they see 350 is going for the roads and 450 is for the general fund. Just keep it separate.
Okay, so we're down to the basic question of
850
what
total.
amount we have that we're gonna put on ballot.
Back to.
We've heard justification for several avenues. We'll work on the justification once we make a decision on the amount.
Well, we are back to 850 total from what everyone in this room has said. We've had the way Steve
Okay.
diced it, everything minus the $100 a month, we're basically back to 850
We're
total.
raising the assessment $800. From 350 to 800, and then the $50, the Marina Fund 50 is bylaw based. We would have to have a vote from to change that.
And that would be a note to make as well, because people are gonna question that, like, why are we still paying for that? And when we're,
Marina fund.
yeah. Like, these little bullets are gonna go a long way to get you 5 and 10 votes at a time to make this thing.
Yeah.
I do think that the breakdown monthly allows people to kind of look at it in a smaller amount and might be more acceptable.
$75 a
We'll
month.
just have straight fees that have to come out of that
Yeah, they would have.
processing.
What,
What-
was it processing
what-
fee,
yeah,
if they
that-
decide to go with it.
Paid money.
I think giving them multiple options is gonna make for some is gonna be way more palatable than. Here's an 800, you have to pay it May 1st. They're gonna be like, I don't.
Well, from experience, I can tell you, you gotta have about 360 people. If you can get 360, you got it. Doesn't sound like much, but that's.
$75 a month equals $900, so that'd be $850 for the BOD and 50 for Marina.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too lost on this monthly thing here. The road thing, I mean, Kevin's fought this for years and Ed, you were part of this too. It's $250 a year. I think we're all pretty sure that that's not going to work. It is just flat not going to work in the future. So that's got to go up. I'm having a hard time selling this on a monthly basis to all these people. I think the biggest majority of people are going to write the check and they're going to be done with it. I think they're going to be fine with it.
What if we offer a small discount if they pay it all at once?
That's a good idea.
A lot of bills are like that. If you pay it by a certain time.
Well, it used to be, we got $50 off.
A lot of people also have escrow accounts that they're paying through, so they don't have a control of that.
That's true.
I mean. they
Why don't
should
you
be-
just offer the payment plan as a separate entity, but Bill, I'm not sure if you understand what I'm trying to say. Keep it separate, road separate from the general fund. If you go 350 to 800, it won't pass. If you go 350 to 400 for the general fund, and we have a new road assessment for 350, if they turn down the roads, they turn down the roads. If we vote on the $400 or the $100 extra for the general fund, at least we have operating expenses.
That's true.
You gotta keep the road separate. It won't pass.
Steve, I couldn't disagree with you more, because what we're ending up with here is you're gonna just have to get another assessment. You have to say, okay, now we have two assessments. We have an assessment for dues and we have an assessment for road. How long is the road plan? Is it a 5-year plan? If it is a 5-year plan, what happens in that 5 years? I watched Kevin work his ass off for 3 years trying to develop a plan, going through all kinds of crap from everybody around, came up with something that was doable from beginning to end. And that's why it sold. A lot of other reasons helped, but that's why it sold. I don't want to do 5-year plans. I want to get an assessment so that we have it. We know what these people are going to pay. They can bank on that. If we want to raise the assessment in 3 years, we raise the assessment. If we want to do it in 2 years, if we want to do it next year, it doesn't matter. The board can do put out there whatever they want. Having another assessment just specifically for roads, I don't think is gaining us anything, because we don't have the people who are going to put together what Kevin did. Again, I don't think, maybe that guy's out there, but I don't
Then,
think he's there.
then present it as a restricted fund for the roads. And have, maybe you could get Kevin to explain it on the
Well,
meeting.
I'm gonna circle back to where my
Yeah.
percentage came from. So 30% of 850 total, that's including the 50 marina. 30%, that's 255. So 30% of 800, that's 240. So you kind of seeing this, what he just said alludes to what I was saying. If we establish that 30% to something, if in a year we go, shit, we're still out of money. All we have to do is say the dues are gonna go up $50 this year.
Right.
Vote on that. That's an easier sell. 30% of that 50 is going to the roads, and it'll,
Keeps going.
you keep making these special assessments. Yeah, they have passed in the past, but the amount of work to get them to pass and to hope they pass is astronomical. Well, once you establish, and 30% was just the number I went with. We can go 35, we can go 40%. It's a one-time deal that's associated, and then that's your quote unquote restricted fund. Won't be restricted, but the money goes directly into roads.
It's identified in the bottom.
Yeah.
And Ryan, to your point, we didn't raise the dues when we did the road assessments. The dues stayed the same.
That's why we did the assessment.
Yep.
Yep.
But we also had a pandemic during my middle of my assessment and everything went up because
Yeah.
you couldn't get
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
so I mean. And then they haven't come back in.
Yeah. I'm just saying, and to combat inflation, when 800 is not enough, the next annual meeting, we say, okay, we're wanting to vote for 850. Well, 30% of 850 is now going to the roads. And then in 3 years, we say, okay, now 850 wasn't enough. We got to go to 900. 30%. Well, you don't have to vote on it again. You don't have to do a special assessment again. You don't have to, you're combating inflation with one option to vote on a small increase. Now, again, this is assuming that we get the first one passed, the big jump.
Would the ballot measure with this increase include the payment options, the flexibility of payment options? Does that need to be in that?
That doesn't need to be in there.
No.
That would be an option that's available to
Okay.
you.
Okay.
We have the cash flow to do that,
Cash flow to do what?
Monthly.
to go monthly.
Behind the first year, theoretically.
Theoretically, no.
You don't.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, for everybody,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, but you're not gonna, I mean, you're gonna have a percentage, but between escrow payments, people that wanna pay it in one lump sum, you're probably gonna find the smaller portion is gonna be paid monthly.
Yeah, you'd combat it, if you double the dues, you'd combat it for 6 months if everyone were to go to monthly, which to your point, won't happen.
Yes, Jeff?
Any of this conversation, including research study, or is that out?
No, we have to have some of that, some portion of it has to be there, but with 30% going to roads, let's use the $800 amount, that gives us that of the remaining balance, that gives us probably around 15 to 18% that can go to the reserve. And again, as I said earlier, with volunteer fundraising, taking on the maintenance of what are the assets, then the assets are going to be covered for the interim until we can get that handled, so.
I remember, what was the last meeting, was 850 or something like that?
Last year, you mean?
Last year's,
Oh,
the total,
I
yeah.
don't know.
It was 7.
But anyhow, the reserve study, where it worked out was putting that money against roads and what it cost us 3 million for this thing. Patch out here for $1 million something.
What's that now?
For this patch of road here, gate to top of the hill.
Research.
But anyhow, running out of money, what is it, in 10 years? And there's no money for roads anyhow. And that was at last year's price.
Well, you have Lincoln this year, you still have 170,000 in there, but.
Which is kind of spoken for already. That hasn't been done yet, when I understand or when I
It
hear.
could be
reallocated, but yeah, it was earmarked for 2024.
Well, and I don't want to try this thing out, but when I did my 5-year plan, we had a plan. And I didn't see it this year, that we talked to people about what we were doing, like I drew cul-de-sacs, I went around and did not get years ago. But I did do potholes, but that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you write out a 5-year plan, you try to keep to it or adjust, but then when Ed took over, inflation again, right, and doubled.
Yeah, well, that was part of the reserve study, because we did that out 30 years.
Yeah.
To figure out how money could last 30 years, and some years, there was no spare money. I mean, the roads at some point, and I'm trying to remember this whole reserve study off my brain, but you know, it was like $6 million that went to roads 1 year.
Yeah.
Just because of Lakeview or, you know, some of the long roads and stuff like that.
That 170 you got in now, it's gotta go with crack seal. It does, that's what it just has to, because we're cracking it crazy. Now we lose sections. Yeah, right now, to deal with the reserve study, we're going to have to do that as best we can. One of the basic things that you have to kind of keep in mind is they wanted $8,500 to do this year's reserve study. We didn't have that kind of money. We don't even have the money to buy out Fieldstone like everybody wants us to do. And I got to stand up in front of 300 and some people on March 16th and say, well, last year you said get out of this, and then that's the best we can do. We're the best we got.
You have a contract.
Yeah.
No contract, you don't have money on the other side to pay for it.
No, we don't have the buyout clause. So, so we're down to the 850. Or 800.
Russian roulette.
850, right?
850 or 800.
850 was my total, and 50 of the 850 was Marina.
Okay, so then we're raising assessments $800.
That was my number. And I think it's fair to say if we do entertain this percentage for road type situation, I think 35 is probably going to be a better.
Okay.
But that road needs 37% to bring it to like $47 extra.
Well, we're getting to 35% right now, Steve, so we're hanging in there with that. So let's see what we've got. Okay. So we put a motion out to increase assessments from 350 to 800 annually. Is there a second?
That include the garbage?
It will.
Give us another year of garbage.
Yeah.
Well, it was a serious question. I wasn't trying to be funny.
Garbage is working right the way it is. I'd leave it out personally. It works whether people pay or don't pay.
It's a pain in the butt that we talk about every single meeting we have.
I won't bring it up again. Tom, I won't bring it up again.
Okay, we have a motion. There's a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you, Lori. We're gonna second discussion. Gotta be,
This is a motion to approve the ballot measure.
yeah, no,
Basically.
this is a motion to approve a ballot measure to raise the assessments from $350 to $800 annually.
Sweet.
Any other questions or discussion? Anything from the floor?
The only comment I'd make is that in your, the road amount, I love all this conversation here and building it, but you gotta have a 5-year plan of roads. People are gonna ask. They're gonna ask what, you're gonna accomplish for this.
Well, I
When's
think-
it gonna be accomplished?
I'm not cheap anymore.
I think,
hell
you
you
weren't
are.
cheap before. I think what we have to do is we just have to identify it very blatantly. Big time. This is and this is annually renewable. This is our ongoing commitment, not a 5-year commitment. This is the ongoing commitment to roads and within our community. And I think I'm counting on Meg to be able to come up with a good explanation on this. I think she can do it. I think we can come up with something that's sellable and get it across the board.
Everybody has to commit to it.
Yeah.
I also think you just have to be careful on the language we use, because I think in most people's mind, or at least in my mind, we had dues and then we had assessments. You know, and what we're saying is there's no longer gonna be an assessment, specifically for roads. Everything's gonna be bundled into one package. And you know, cause when you say going from 350 to 800, you know, I think people's mind go, oh, that's quite a big jump. Or you're going 350 plus the 250 road assessment, you know,
That just expired.
that just expired. You're no longer paying for
Sure.
that. We just need to be really clear on the communication of that because it's not really a 350 to 800. It's really a 350 plus the 250 road assessment.
It's 600 to 800.
Right, 600 to 800. And I think people,
Okay.
we just need to make sure that
Well, going back to the timeline, that's where we will have to have a Zoom meeting in the 1st of February. I think it's the 12th. I'm not sure what it was, but we'll verify that. Or we'll have a preliminary idea because the packet has to go out soon after that. So we have to have the language out and we will make the language available to all the committee members so that they can see what's going on and what they have.
So we got the other ballot measure email to you.
Say what?
12's a Wednesday this year, February?
No, we're having, it's a Sunday, what?
13 Wednesday.
February.
Third Sunday is the 16th.
Yeah, 16. No.
There's a time.
Nothing like,
Oh, what's that? I thought we had said
16.
it just disappeared. It's there, it's gone.
That was rude. Sorry. Coming back.
You're hiding it just a little, the dates are in those little blue boxes.
It's my fault.
There it
Your
is.
challenge today.
February 16th.
Okay, 16.
For the forum.
Yeah, so it's February 16th. Okay. And there has to be a lot of communication along the lines going to there, so we'll get to it. Okay, the other ballot measure that we had was one Rob had drawn up. For charging guest passes, so. Everybody got one of those, huh? Oh, geez, we didn't do the motion. Okay. I want to apologize. I go to the bathroom real bad.
let's have an intermission for.
So let's get a vote on passing the $800, and I got killed.
Rob?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Morgan?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Rob, you go.
Okay, great. So I had some landowners reach out asking about the ability to charge for guest passes. So I put together a ballot measure for consideration because this is another potential revenue source for us. And it reads, proposal to charge for guest passes. The Three Rivers Landowners Association proposes to implement a charge for guest passes effective upon the release of Prop 2.0. If approved, landowners will have the option to charge their guests for guest passes or pay for guest passes on behalf of their guests. To facilitate this change, Three Rivers will need to add the payments module to the Proptia system at an ongoing cost of $119 per month, plus a $1 per transaction processing fee. So that's just a pass-through cost that they would charge us. Under the new system, the following pricing structure will apply. Temporary guest pass, $10 each, valid for a limited period, and then annual guest pass, $100, valid for 1 year. So the option to buy a short-term guest pass or a long-term guest pass, and reserves the right for the board to adjust pricing for guest passes in the future, if necessary, to cover the cost of system maintenance or other operational needs. However, any changes to the pricing will be made with careful consideration and in consultation with the landowners to ensure that the adjustments remain reasonable and in the best interest of the community. This measure will allow for a more streamlined and transparent process for managing guest access while covering the cost of the new system. Sent from my iPhone.
You type that in, that's
pretty impressive.
So does that include vendors?
Oh.
Well, as of last week, we were going to consider charging for vendors, and as of this week, we want to let vendors in for free, so that's kind of a new thing. Again, I was emailed by landowners asking, hey, can we just charge for guests? We have so many guests, come through the gate. Can people pay to go to national parks or down the road to the park, that type of thing? So can we offset some of the, assessments costs, yeah, to them?
Do we have a goal of how much money we think this will generate?
Well, that would be, I guess, calculated off of how many guests we had.
I can see a whole ton of questions, like, is family considered guests? Are you still getting your permanent family passes? Are you just a whole lot of those little things? And then my brain goes, oh God, another payment stream. Like that just made my head swoon there for a second, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And Steve raised his hand.
Well, and you know what? You could use this as kind of a carrot dangling. If we don't pass our budget.
Yo, I like this.
It's gonna be numbered. I don't know.
I do.
Okay,
Sales pitch.
just if we use the Labor Day, not just a minimal idea on guest passes that were issued for Labor Day, and we charged them, I did $5. We charged them $5. Labor Day would have netted us $17,500. So it would have been $30,000 or $35,000. It's not an exercise in futility. It's a moneymaker.
I think if we bring this up before we raise the dues or ask to raise the dues, people will just opt to not raise the dues and go for this as an option to generate money.
How much will?
This one here.
I'm gonna wait.
I'm voting, yeah, I'm a hard no. I'm not saying it straight up. I've been pretty adamant on starting with something a little less aggressive, in my opinion. Starting something, if we're gonna go this route, starting on something as more of like a people pulling trailers. Or even as going as far as entertaining maybe like whoever's using the boat ramp, there's a slip fee, not a slip fee, but a ramp fee. If we're looking to lean on generating revenue, it's the people pulling in stuff, not because I don't lie to you. I don't want any of my guests to have to pay to come hang out. Like I don't want anybody to come pay. I'm not a park. I'm not, I don't get the money for you to park in my driveway, but I gotta pay for you to come over. I mean, I don't even have any friends that are coming over anyways that live outside of here, but still, if I decide to get some next week, that's just my stance on
How
it.
do you manage pulling a trailer though? How do you manage the payment? We can't even get people to pay $5 to dump their garbage.
These
My
are
hands
questions,
up.
yeah.
My hands up. My hands up.
Go to $5. Okay, Steve, what do you got?
I know you love to hear from me so much, Bill, but you got to hear from me on this one. So I know about this because I checked into it for the vendors. You need a manned gate. So to answer the last question, and PropTia doesn't have one client that charges for guests. So they do have charge for vendors, and some HOAs make a lot of money on the vendors. But it requires a manned gate. It requires a manned gate along with the $119 a month. You try to pull this, you want to get the $800 for annual dues. So anyway, my vote's no.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, so general consensus would be we table this till after the annual meeting.
Make a decision. Make a decision. Don't table it.
Wow.
Okay, we're going to table this until after the annual meeting.
That's a decision.
It's a discussion topic that's been brought up by guests. And Steve, this is gonna just surprise the ever-loving crap out of you. You're not the only person that lives up here. So we're gonna listen to some other people who have an opinion and we'll go from there. We'll come back on, it, okay? Thanks. Now, the packet that you had up there. Does it say that somewhere on your screen? It says please.
Is that all the, or is there one more?
That's all the ballot.
I would like to add one.
Okay, we have a potential ballot measure.
I would, I can make a motion to put up for vote that we move the annual meeting to this side of the mountain. And obviously this side of the mountain is very loosely, so if we want to be specific, I'd like to put up for vote that we move the annual meeting to Madras. That would be, but that would be specific, so.
This year?
No, absolutely not, no, 2025, 6, we are at 5.
And where would you have it?
I was told that there is an Elks in Madras. There's a, I haven't gone in,
Big enough.
I haven't gone into every building in Madras, but most hotels have options that should be big enough for us. I'm not gonna say they all do, but I know there's a big hotel right there off the highway when you come into to Madras. And I'm not saying Madras specifically, I'm just saying this side of the mountain.
At Jefferson County.
I'd say Central.
Yeah, Central Oregon will be your loosely.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of.
It's a hard one.
Hey, you're entitled to vote, send it.
I like it.
Okay, now, according to the bylaws, the president has to find the venue to have it in. It is just identified as the Milwaukee Elks, and what they were down 5 or 6
Oregon
years ago,
City.
we had to go out by 32nd for that year, but.
I'm curious,
Oregon
because I just
City.
came by there just this couple days ago, and they're doing that big light rail thing.
Yeah.
In the parking lot, half the parking lot's taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Big issue.
we can choose a location. The only thing that's dictated in those bylaws is the date. The third Sunday of March is what's dedicated to. So if you want to put a motion up to move the venue to Madras,
Let's go with Central Oregon. That's
Central Oregon.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion that we move the 2026 annual meeting to Central Oregon. Do we want to put,
Location
moving,
TBD.
I'm calling out 2026, but I mean, if we just say 2026, that would be I guess a trial run, but I don't know if we want to put any literature that states moving forward past 2026, so.
Well,
What's the purpose of doing that, other than making it really difficult to get a quorum?
Well, I can tell you why I want to do it. I'm not going to speak on behalf of anyone else, which other people have agreed is I live here full time. This is my only residence. So I have to pack up and go to the other side of the mountain for a meeting of my property, which is here.
I guess for me, it's you own property at Three Rivers. You manage to come over here to party, to drink, to use the facilities, but you can't come over to make a decision on annual? That seems asinine to me.
I think
Like,
it seems
fair enough.
asinine to me to make 400 people drive over the mountain as opposed to maybe 100.
I would argue I've never seen 400 people there, and a very mass majority of those last year were landowners and people that
I'm
live
not
in
gonna see a
Central
lot
Park.
of madness, trust me.
Well,
The
think about it.
advantage to driving over there is people who have homes in Three Rivers have somewhere to stay. People who live permanently in Three Rivers going to Portland area don't have a place to stay.
That is correct.
We can put the ballot measure up and see what
Let the people.
they want to vote. So we have the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Bob seconds. Any further discussion? This will be ballot measure number 2, by the way.
Would you guys consider changing the date in the bylaws?
Well, that's a big deal. So, yeah, I mean, and obviously we've discussed that for years, changing to May or June or something like that to match the weather.
Because what, I mean, it's weather, the other part is things can be done here, see what I mean? That's what I mean.
So, yeah, this particular motion on location is gonna be a standalone. We're not going to be able to include a change in date. So if we're gonna consider changing the date of the annual meeting, that's gonna require a separate ballot. measure. So we have a motion on the table right now. Discussion. Heard any, so we'll call for a vote to move the location of the annual meeting to Central Oregon, starting in 2026 and moving forward.
Rob,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Tom,
No,
Morgan,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Okay. So now, question is out there, do we want to change the date of the annual meeting?
Yes, my
So-
preference would be doing it on a weekend. That way, people who are traveling over that from Portland area aren't doing it on a weekday when they have work.
It's on a weekend, yeah.
It's always the third Sunday of March.
We're gonna think you got confused because we
Perfect.
didn't have the right date.
I
Got
guess
it.
the only concern, and bring up the earlier point, is the delay in finances, I guess delay in. Well, annual payments would not be changed.
Yeah.
This is just the annual membership need. But if there were to be a assessment change in May, then when would that, when would those monies start to come in? But
Next year?
Historically, the association's always paid the next year out of the last year's of funds. Yeah, and if we've done that, there's been still some up that, there's anything else. Here, all right. And if anybody's thinking about changing from a cash basis to an accrual basis, it's a 5, 6, 7 year process.
Yeah, so we can put a motion on, or a ballot measure up to change the date of the annual meeting to May, June, July, August, September.
I wouldn't get too deep. You get in the middle of
Pivot points
summer.
become the problem of what a lot of things key off that
I'm
annual
saying,
meeting.
this place is pretty popular. Summer.
the other concern would be venue pricing probably increase as we get closer to summer. Oh, have it here? Have the meeting here?
We don't try to have that kind of thing.
Well, we get the
Oh,
booth ready to build it. You know what I'm saying?
Let's see if we get it across the mountain first.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, probably a very good idea. Baby step.
Tell Steve we're gonna table it.
No, we're not, don't tell Steve we're tabling it. Okay. Okay,
He's had a flat
So-
throat at his house.
we're going to move on and we're looking at the packet. This is what the packet will do. It will say 2024. We have the same old picture. I wish we could get a new one there.
Should say 2025.
It'll be 2025.
Yeah.
Didn't they say change to 2020?
It's in process.
It's in process to change to 20.
Would
I didn't do
change
it.
2020.
You have all-
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Michelle, do you have all the Word doc?
No, we don't. No.
Okay, I'll send it.
No, we go through those. And this would change to the 16th. Registration will begin the same. Meeting date starts at noon. Hang on before you go too far. We are not, this year, we are taking care of all of our own registration and check-ins. So our own staff is going to be doing the check-ins and our own staff will be doing everything other than, at this point, a third-party verification of voting. So we are going to handle our own voting in-house as we have done in the past, and that vote will stand.
When you say up to that point, are we going to print and mail ourselves this packet?
Correct.
And it's previously been done by Fieldstone.
No. All Fieldstone provides us with is a date. B and B Printing has always been and will continue to be the place we use their bulk mailing stamp, everything goes
Okay.
through them.
Will
Yeah.
proxies still go to Fieldstone, Bill?
No, the proxies will come to this office
Okay.
here.
And Bill, just so you know, Stacy popped in and said that the packets, not to put any additional pressure on anything, but the packets have to be to the printers by February 3rd to meet the February 17th drop.
Yeah, we're going to provide as many pages to her. I've talked to Julie at B and B, not Julie at Fieldstone, we'll get as many pages to her as we possibly can, so.
And we're pulling our registry basically from our own database versus the past, we pulled it from Julie at Fieldstone.
That's right.
Okay, just want to get on the same page.
We're
Right.
gonna- That's what Stacy and I are meeting about.
Correct.
Sure that everything's-
Got it.
Okay, purpose is the same as usual. This is where it changes. If you cannot attend the meeting, the packet, they will need to not contact Fieldstone, they'll need to contact our office. And our office will take care of getting them the packet or their questions or any of that happens there. And we'll change, Dave will be obviously the secretary and his information will be put in there. Okay, the agenda will be much the same. I will go down through this. We established a quorum. We have to have the minutes approved. We have those already ready. Ranity's statement we had last year, I'll have to say something. We'll have voting. Either Dave or I can take care of that. We have candidates that will either come from the floor or they will be in the packet. So that's yet to be determined. The ballot measures we'll discuss, same, Dave or I can take care of those. Committee reports is where it's going to be a difference. All of the time that we did before, a board of directors stepped up and did their committee reports. It was my intention, and I've been pretty successful in getting other people to do committees and be committee chairs. So all of the committee chairs will be making their reports, so you'll have volunteer fundraising. Steve will be on gatekeeper, and we don't serve alcohol, so Steve on gatekeeper is gonna be on. Sorry, Steve. But that will be people that are not directors, okay? The directors, we can make comments, we can follow up, whatever, but the directors are the directors, and that's what they're gonna just be on the stage. Big Canyon, of course, John always makes a comment and has an update. The in memoriam, we've got to start figuring where that's at. I think Stacy will have to start figuring out who's that and get the information out. Because it's always nice to have the slides, and we got that from them. There will be a sign-up sheet and then the results of the elections and so on. So that will be the basic agenda. Go ahead. And the ballot measures will be presented like this, so that when it goes out, people will have a chance to read them. There'll be an explanation, what the measure is. We can look through those and they can get an understanding. That's where Meg and Michelle and everybody to get together to do a good explanation will come. The proxies is going to be the next question, and I know Tom has an issue on the proxies that he's come up with. It's a good question. And so we can discuss that now. Tom, do you want to go over your question about proxies?
He has been having connection issues.
Oh.
He just came back into the chat. Give him a second.
Did he?
Like, popped in and popped out. I probably didn't hear you.
Tom, you had a question on the proxies and changing that status. Did you want to bring everybody up to speed on that now? The question is that Tom brought up is that the proxies come in and they all come to the secretary. So the secretary has the, if they're not directed, let me go this back. Everything is a directed proxy. So what happens is a landowner will not be able to attend the meeting. They can sign this and say, I want you to vote. I want my vote to be cast here, here, and here. The landowner can say, I'm not coming to the meeting. I ask that Ben Cummings vote my proxy for me. Now, when they do that, Ben can vote that proxy any way she wants. Okay? If they don't designate a proxy, it goes to the secretary of the association. The secretary then votes the proxy. Now, I can speak as what I did. I divided them up so that if there was a majority went to passing, then the majority of the votes that came in, I put down for passing vote. What Tom was concerned about is that the secretary has that. He would like to see a more decisive way of taking those votes that the secretary has and being the secretary then being designated, these votes have to go this direction. Now, I can tell you that's really difficult because you've got a room full of people who are counting votes and you just get the total and it's 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yes, we can say that, okay, 20% of them voted this way. We can take 20% of those votes and apply that. And that detail can work, but that would really be the only easy way to do it within the time frame that we have. So the question would be to, rather than go to we still use the directed proxy, but for proxies that end up with the secretary of the association, the board of directors would then direct the secretary to vote in a certain fashion. The question would be, what fashion, if any, do we want the secretary to vote in? Does that make sense? Okay, so that would be the question that Tom was talking about.
Can I repeat some of that just
Yep.
so I show that I understand? So by proxy, there are two options. One, to sign it to someone, as in sign the form and hand it to Meg if they want Meg to vote for them. And then when they attend the meeting, they will get, the proxy at that time being Meg would receive her ballot paperwork. And then however many proxy ballot paperwork pieces she gets. If they just sign it, one option is to mail it back. And are we mailing it back to Fieldstone?
Nope, everything comes to the office.
Okay, coming up, so sign it and hand it to the office with no name on it other than the signature of the landowner. Those will be piled and given to the secretary as the proxy. And what you said on top of that is at the end of everyone that shows up or votes by proxy, not being the secretary, then we will, as a board, assign those proxy votes as we.
That's the question, yes.
Okay, because I know this was a big topic of discussion last year, and it's good for us to hear that out loud, so then when people say stuff online, we can kind of try to direct a little bit.
Sure. And
Yeah, I'm
there's nothing
sorry,
wrong
I
with-
had a technical
Okay.
difficulty.
There, okay. I tried to catch up as much as I could, Tom, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I just, like I said, there doesn't, how those votes are accounted for is a bit mysterious.
This meeting is being
And,
recorded.
I'm like, no, he's still there.
Okay,
He like all of a sudden came on twice and then muted.
okay,
We go.
well,
So when all those votes come in, because whenever I've gotten them, they say how they want them voted.
They do,
So
but
that's
some
what I-
don't come, yeah, but
Oh,
some
so
do
some-
not come in now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Signed only.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't understand that.
Oh, Jack, okay.
My thought is that if people can't put down on paper the ballot decision, or give it this, name a person to make the decision for them. That's it.
Just don't count.
Just don't, it's not accountable.
Can I,
Well,
Can
the
I
reason
ask-
it came up wasn't it, if there was a vote from the floor, you know. So that.
That's, yeah,
That's the reason.
then the vote could happen, so
Yeah, that's.
so is there anything that says that we can't, do something like, I mean, if I know I'm not gonna be able to attend and I was planning on giving Meg my proxy vote, and I know that on ballot 1 and 2, I'm gonna vote no for, and that's what I'm telling her is to vote no, and then the floor is separate, but is there anything that says that we can't make that so that I can instead go on and digitally vote, electronically vote, and then,
They did that last year.
that was requiring vote HOA to do the electronic balloting, to do that with. We did not hire them to do that, so
so there's lots of different ways that you can do it.
I understand, but that was not available to me or to the board last year or to whatever. We knew what we were working within and that was what we had. So if there's another option, that's great. Right now, we're dealing with directed proxy. That's what we have. That's our tool to use.
It just seems like we can make that part of that, you would know going into it, we have this, at least we have this. Chunk of people, because I think we voted for 4 different things up here. We brought proxies forward.
Right.
It can be a lot for the person that has multiple
Oh,
proxies.
yeah.
To keep them all straight.
That's actually a different question, because this is really about those people who simply send their thing back in with nothing marked and nothing signed. I mean, that's what you're talking about.
I think I agree.
I mean, if you can't be bothered to vote or ask somebody else to do it in the app, then you obviously aren't participating in the process.
Yeah, and yeah, you're just signing a piece of paper and basically throwing it away.
Forum too, though. I was kind of.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's why there's.
It is the quorum. And the other thing was, like you say, if there was a vote from the floor that needed to be voted on, the proxies could vote. And you would have that, so.
But those would be actually directed. I mean, they'd have somebody's name on it.
Correct. Well,
The
the
ones
ones that
that-
come in have a name on it and they just,
Didn't sign up. Didn't fill it
I
out.
had more than 10 last year that just said, you know, what you're doing, they just put Bill Hawkins in it, that was it. So what do I vote? I vote with, you know.
You vote, well, I guess they trust you.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but it's no different than you picking anyone or any landowner picking whoever they want, whether
Yeah.
it's Bill or not, you know?
The big thing is that, you know, it's titled direct, if it's not directed. Toss it.
Okay. Well, then that's something that we need to try to figure out if we're going to do away with those that are not identified. The identified proxies are easy. It tells you who they are, who they want,
Yep.
what they want in there. Those are easy. It's the ones that are not identified that we're doing. So is there a motion we want to do to not validate an unsigned or an uncommitted proxy?
I guess the one concern would be what Kevin mentioned would be getting the form, because
Right.
without that,
Yeah, we're
not much is gonna matter. Yeah. I'll let you take this one, buddy.
I think you can get away from them. I think you can get away from them.
No.
Use a forum.
Use them for the quorum, but not for the vote. I mean, if you split the difference, but
Then there's the other argument that as board of directors, you are put in here to speak for the population, and if you've made a decision, or whoever gets those forum packets, then you're speaking on their behalf too, just like Meg would be for anybody that would sign a proxy.
That's the way I felt it to be. So if the majority of the people were voting a particular way, I voted with the majority, so that's. And it's not I mean, it's usually about between 20 and 25 unsigned. We usually get about 130 proxies. And, but most of them are directed to a person or. Okay, so we leave proxy stand as is for the time being. Well, at least we've identified a problem. We'll go from there. Okay, any going down? Now that all went with the reserve study, so we won't worry about that this year. Candidate profiles will go here. Again, Karen, Morgan, and Ryan are up for reelection. So we will need, I think, I don't know, Ryan, did you do one of those?
You have it, my good sir. Yeah, I did
So I've
one.
got yours, I've got Morgan's, I think I've got one for Karen. So we'll go from there. And anybody new that wants to run, we need to get those.
You done a call for candidates? Like to their home, to everyone's emails, or we just put it on Facebook?
We stood it on Facebook. No, we didn't send something out to everybody.
Do we want to?
We can't.
I mean, because Facebook only gets very, we keep saying this, Facebook gets a very small population. It's not getting everyone, so we might.
Publicized it, but yeah, send it out. Let's do that tomorrow. Okay? And the,
Is that also gonna go out on the newsletter, digital newsletter too?
I think it should, yeah.
yeah.
But we're working with very limited time, so if we can get that, the official newsletter that has a bit more information, we're gonna be pushing it.
Okay.
So the answer would be yeah, but also consider it on time.
And here's the way the proxy would look, where the other side vote he or she chooses is the box, or the vote is directed. That's where you end up with your difference. So what they'll do is where the first line, it will be like Meg's name would be in there, or secretary will go in there, or whoever they put, and then they work their way down. Okay, go ahead. Those are be the minutes. We'll go past those. We'll have the minutes of last year's meeting, and then we will have the financial report. And that will take care of the packet. So we'll have the financial report and the minutes and all of that stuff ready to go to print this week, and then we'll start filling in the blanks. So that's what the packet's gonna look like. Old business, we want to continue on with marina sale.
Before you go on, there, Randy,
Geisler?
Geisler had he had a comment he wanted to make.
Okay,
And Randy, I don't know if you're on still, because you're buried in here. You wanna talk? He just said he wants to like to sign in for comment via chat. Oh, so maybe he's good. Okay, are you still, Randy, if you have something that you wanted to add, or you're good? I didn't know if you had anything else. Not seeing anything. If he comes up, I will talk it.
okay. So that will cover the annual meeting portion for now. I'll try to come up with an outline of where we're at and get off to you guys tomorrow. The marina sale is something that I've gotten questions about. Is there any update? We got anything on the marina?
I think we should be prepared to provide an update at the annual meeting. So
Okay, that's right. As long as I can give
I
these
think it
people
should be on
something.
I think it needs to be on the agenda, and we should be able to give an accurate update as we are.
And who's gonna do that? You're gonna provide that?
I'll lead that, yeah.
Okay. I just get at least 4 or 5 emails a week asking, you know, what's going on with green, so. Some of them are the same person. Right. Okay, CCNR vote, I know Karen's not online, I'm not sure where we're going to be at with that. That still is going to be a separate vote, I think. I'm hoping that we can try to get something up at the annual meeting so that questions, if there are any, can go out, but it can't be a vote. It has to be a mail out vote, so it's a completely different format than what we're doing for the annual meeting. I'll cover on that. New business. We reviewed the proxies. I got a ton of, I mean, those questions about the incorrect billing, I hope everybody understands that. I don't know if any of you don't know or what happened, but that was just a complete error.
Yeah, everybody got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's done. The bridge repair, we've got the information that the county is that I checked with Randy today and he said that the county now has to work with, Oregon Department of Transportation to get it set up. And really, Randy, there really isn't anything we can say date wise when it's happening or anything.
I would say knowing how ODOT works, probably midsummer. Early fall.
So you're today, you're saying that they're leaning on midsummer this summer?
No, they will probably be out and assess this late summer, fall, assess. Once they assess it, they come up with a timeline.
Okay, so whenever you request us to send out a bulk email, and this is a good example, that the information that was given for the request to send that out, it had no dates.
No, we don't have.
No, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not gonna tell her to send out an email to the association without details of that magnitude, because we're talking about
Questions.
that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna get more questions than we have to answer them, and then that's when everyone's gonna start filling in their own blanks. So I don't feel like bringing this up in a major blast this first half of the year is even advisable, especially since it doesn't sound like anything is gonna happen this year.
And that's fine, other than the fact that the vagueness of what has happened to this point generates a considerable amount of questions. So if we have some way of addressing some questions, that's
We
it.
don't know.
I understand not making a statement is fine.
This might be another bullet we can throw in the newsletter that says 2025, there will not be a bridge shutdown, closure and repair. As far as we know, we will update, accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. Okay.
And there will be a town hall. ODOT will be here. Jefferson County will be,
Some point.
and they'll answer the questions. It's
Okay.
And Parks and Rec is interested in that, so you remember they've got two of their largest parks. That are gonna be impacted potentially by a bridge and,
Right.
they're very interested in that.
Okay, so we'll deal with that. And then the ODF letter, we talked about that earlier with Jim. I do have Joe Parrott's response, which I will get to you. And that answers all of the questions about the letter, everything that I've come up with. So that would be it. Is there any other comments from the floor? On the, yes, Jeff?
Well,
All right. Yeah.
One comment I would have is if you have people that are reaching out to you, I feel free to point them to either myself or to Ed regarding the marina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have no problem. I mean, how many, you said?
I've probably gotten, since the December meeting, I've gotten maybe 25, 26, something like that. And they just asked what's going on, what's the deal, where's it at? I saw it was for sale, the general stuff, and I just try to respond to them. But if they come up with specific questions, I'll just forward them to you. Jeff?
Yes, it's for sale. We don't have a buy it.
Basically, in less than 2 months, we're gonna be sitting in Milwaukee Elks. And there was a vote to accept the $800 assessment increase to go on the ballot, so that's gonna be out there in grasslands. before we know it, so no pressure, Meg, but you know, it's time to start.
I just sent out several texts saying, when can we have a brainstorming session? You want to be in on it?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, we did lousy last year on getting information out about the annual meeting. We said we were gonna have a town hall, we didn't have it, you know, we gotta do better this year if we want stuff to pass and to inform the population.
Yep.
Okay, got it?
Got it?
Man, I'll entertain a motion to retire this meeting. I said.
Do we need to set a next meeting?
We didn't do that.
Okay, we need to set our next meeting.
Is that a workshop or? Are we-
February,
In home Jerry next weekend, I'll be back out probably Thursday. See you up here now.
Do we need a workshop between now and then, Bill?
yes,
For
we'll have,
the.
we'll have a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
I'll get that out.
Okay,
The next.
So the next meeting is February 16th,
great.
same thing.
Yeah.
Here in Zoom.
Take some responsibility.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Have a motion second?
I'll second.
Okay, no discussions. I will.
Rob?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Tom and Morgan, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.